Chapter 265. In the boundless dimension, the goshawk was hunting down its prey, staining the sky with blood. Shrill screams shook the mountains and rivers, and divine light poured out everywhere. Many of the imperial princes had comprehended the essence of laws, and some had even comprehended the embryonic form of a great Tao. Yi Qinghan had no advantage in the boundless dimension, and was even suppressed. After all, his azure dragon body and essence Tao body were both suppressed. However, he had many secret arts, and had comprehended many of the essences and laws. He had also comprehended the embryonic form of the Tao of destruction. If he truly unleashed his full power, even the imperial princes might not be able to take advantage of him. Jiang Heng tore kings apart with his bare hands and killed humans. In the end, his eyes were bloodshot, and he no longer cared about his own race. Anyone who stood in his way was an enemy. The 3-meter-tall Jiang Heng was invincible. Every step he took caused the earth to shake. Even though the bodies of the titans were suppressed, they still weren't something that others could compare with. A 5-meter-long, 2-meter-wide sword materialized by true essence appeared in his hand, and its sharp sword light tore through the void. At this moment, Jiang Heng had 8,000 life plaques, and was ranked first in the 45th battle zone. Hu Qianyan of the Sacred Tiger tribe was still fighting in his human form, and he had a domineering aura that humans did not have. After all, he was a top expert of the Sacred Tiger tribe, and could easily subdue others with his Tiger King stance. He was in the 9th level of the Immortal School, and had acquired 7,500 life plaques. He was ranked second, but the quasi-emperors in the outside world knew that he had yet to unleash his full power. Hu Main-er of the Fox tribe was in the 7th level of the Immortal School. She was the darling of the boundless dimension, and her soul was so terrifying that anyone who came into contact with her would be bewitched and willingly give up their life plaques. Even if someone had a firm Tao heart, they would not be a match for her. When she used her seduction art, she could instantly turn people into idiots. Even if they left the boundless dimension, they would not be able to recover. She was a peerless beauty, and filled with seductive charm. Ordinary people would not be able to withstand such an impact on their Tao heart. Hu Main-er had acquired 7,300 life plaques, and was ranked third in the 45th battle zone. She was a strong contender for the title of Realm Crosser. Fourth place was naturally Yi Qinghan. With 7,000 life tokens, the difference wasn't that great. They were rapidly approaching each other. In at most half a day, they would be able to reach each other. In the outside world, many quasi-emperors looked at the 45th battle zone with strange smiles. They did not expect that this battle zone would have the combat power of 4 imperial princes. Even Xia Chintian wasn't watching. Xia Chiyue from the 40th battle zone and Xia Ziluo from the 35th battle zone stared at the 45th battle zone. The corners of their eyes twitched and they asked curiously, "Who is in charge of this battle zone? Why are there so many princes? There are 2 emperors in one battle zone. Why are there 4 in this battle zone?" The Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor was also puzzled. There were 2 in one war zone, and 100 war zones meant that there were 200 imperial princes and holy daughters. It was terrifying and exaggerated. They were invincible in the same realm and could kill people at the same level in an instant. Just one of them was enough to deal with, but this war zone actually had 4 of them. The giant ant race Quasi-Emperor's beard trembled. His thin and weak body shifted as he frowned and said, "I am in charge of this war zone." This sovereign did not expect this Yi Qinghan to be an imperial prince as well. He is actually not inferior to the giant race's invincible sovereign. This war zone is interesting. I wonder who will be able to cross over. Zhang Yunxiao's face was filled with excitement. There were 2 in the human race. Although the giant race was not a true human race, they relied on the human race to survive and represented the human race. Thinking of this, Zhang Yunxiao continued, "I bet that Yi Qinghan will be able to cross over. Imperial weapon material, dazzling dragon iron essence. It is only half a kilogram. This old man obtained it when training in the demon refining region." "What? You are willing to bet this? You are so confident that Yi Qinghan will be able to defeat the 3 experts?" The quasi-emperors were astonished. Yi Qinghan was currently the weakest one. Regardless of battle strength, realm, or current ranking, he was not considered outstanding. Was Zhang Yunxiao stupid? I can't find all the materials for imperial weapons. Extreme imperial weapons are beyond our reach. Who knows, I might be able to win if I take it out for a bet. Zhang Yunxiao raised his eyebrows with an indifferent attitude. This old man will bet with you. I bet that Hu Mei heir will be able to cross over. If I lose, my Qilin Tiger race will give you 3 drops of Qilin blood essence. The Qilin Tiger race's senior quasi-emperor sneered as he stared at Yi Qinghan. Killing intent flashed in his eyes as he was extremely unhappy with the people from the insane sect. Everyone sucked in a breath of air. These 2 old fellows were crazy enough, actually taking out supreme treasures to gamble. 3 drops of Qilin blood essence. That was a true sacred beast's blood essence. It could instantly purify a rank 1 beast into a rank 7 or even rank 8 imperial bloodline. If a prince could obtain it, his battle prowess would definitely double. This old man thinks highly of my race's Jiangheng. His bloodline has already begun to revert to its ancestor. His battle prowess is unparalleled. Once his giant bloodline is activated, he will be able to kill experts of the divine martial realm. The giant race quasi-emperor said proudly. Actually, Hu Qinyan is not bad either. His battle prowess has not been fully activated yet, but he is ranked 2nd. Once his battle prowess is fully awakened and his true form is revealed, he will not be weaker than anyone else. The sacred tiger race quasi-emperor naturally did not want to be outdone. He felt that he had a chance to become a realm crosser. This emperor is a little curious. I think highly of Hu Mei heir, but my heart is always biased towards Yi Qinghan. Maybe he has evolved his dragon bloodline and can use the Azure Dragon race's secret technique. The Azure Dragon quasi-emperor said indifferently, "What? He has the dragon bloodline?" Xia Chintian was surprised. Yi Qinghan had the origin Dao body. Many human quasi-emperors knew this, but they obviously did not know that Yi Qinghan had evolved his dragon bloodline. Yes, a very low-level dragon bloodline. If his performance in this battle is good, this emperor can consider bringing him back to the Azure Dragon race to nurture him. The Azure Dragon quasi-emperor said indifferently. Everyone's expression changed. The Azure Dragon race was actually going to nurture a human. This was simply an unprecedented occurrence. The human race was not at ease sending Yi Qinghan to the Azure Dragon race. Who knew if they would trap and kill the human elite? However, this was the best opportunity for Yi Qinghan to transform. If a high-level dragon bloodline was poured into his body, he would form a true Azure Dragon body. Then Yi Qinghan would be comparable to the Heavenly Monkey King. The experts of the myriad races were not willing to let the Azure Dragon race nurture Yi Qinghan. Rather than nurturing a human, it was better to nurture a top existence of the myriad races. The effect would definitely not lose to Yi Qinghan. Everyone was silent for a moment. The Azure Dragon quasi-emperor smiled and looked at the endless space. He whispered, "It seems that the first realm crosser will be born between Long Qiong, Heavenly Monkey King, Xian Jiutian, Feng Ling, and Yang Zhan of the human race." Long Qiong was naturally the emperor of the dragon race. His dragon blood could definitely suppress the bloodline of the myriad races and be comparable to the golden bloodline. Unfortunately, Si Wuxia's realm was too low. He was only at the mid-level of the Dao Master realm. It was not bad that he could complete the realm crosser, let alone become the first realm crosser. Yang Zhan was an expert born in the Dao realm of the war race. He was a foster son adopted by the Zhan family. His understanding of battle intent had reached the peak. He had sealed himself for 3,000 years just to wait for the golden era. His spear skills had reached the great success stage and he could kill a divine martial expert with a single spear. Many dark horses appeared in the various battle zones. For example, Sikong Qingjun and the others were invincible. There was one who was the most special. He was Feng Sha. His killing intent and baleful aura caused the experts at the 9th level of the Immortal Gate to not dare to move recklessly. The elites at the 7th level of the Immortal Gate would instantly submit when they were hit by his killing intent. Those who were slightly weaker would be able to suppress the souls of their opponents. They would not be able to escape at all. Yi Qinghan and the other 3 great experts had yet to gather, but the first realm crosser had already begun to form. Monkey King Qitian and the others had begun to charge. As long as they killed more than half of the existences in a battle zone and collected 50,000 life tablets, they would automatically become the first existence to cross the battle zone. Many boundary emperors began to restrain their auras. However, the scene suddenly changed. Emperor Yi transformed into a divine guqin. Divine light pierced through half of the battle zone. The guqin music was grand and majestic, stirring up the qi and blood of people, causing their blood to boil. The heavenly melody even broke through the barriers of the battle zones and attracted all beings to come closer to him. The Azure Dragon Boundary Emperor's pupils contracted. He had guessed what Emperor Yi was going to do. Weng, weng, weng. The guqin music of heaven and earth resounded. Birds and butterflies danced, covering the sky and covering the sun. They descended outside Emperor Abyss City to listen to the divine law. Even the boundary emperors couldn't sit still. They felt their souls throbbing, wanting to stand up and fight. This is the Heaven Attacking Song, a song created by the first human emperor. He actually comprehended it. Is he going to fight everyone in the battle zone alone? He's crazy. He wants to be the first existence to cross the battle zone. The boundary emperor's eyes flickered. They watched as Monkey King Qitian, Long Qiong, and Yang Zhan unleashed all their battle prowess and rapidly closed in on the battle zone. Right now, it was a race against time. In a single breath, the first realm crosser would be determined. In the battle zone where Emperor Yi was, all the elites couldn't help but get closer to Emperor Yi. Their blood was boiling. The closer they got to him, the faster their blood flowed. They could explode and die at any time. However, they were like moths to a flame. Even if they died, they had no regrets. Emperor Yi sat cross-legged in the 9 heavens. His rainbow-colored divine robes fluttered in the wind. His expression was calm as he looked down on all living beings. His 10 fingers gently played the heaven-attacking song. Every melody could shake one's heart. One of the imperial princes in this battle zone had a pale face. His eyes were malevolent, and his legs couldn't help but want to get closer to Emperor Yi. In the 10th battle zone, Feng Ling manifested her true form. The phoenix danced in the 9 heavens, about to erupt. A mouthful of fire burned 10,000 miles. She flapped her wings and flew up, instantly killing a king. In the 6th battle zone, Xia Ziluo's 10 fingers reached into the sky, wanting to grab the firmament. The 8 trigrams formation hung in the 9 heavens, spiraling continuously, forming a huge vortex. Her expression was holy. With a move of her 10 fingers, the entire space was distorted, and the spiritual qi was instantly sucked dry. Heaven Attacking Technique. A low voice broke through the shackles of space and traveled to the outside world. The expressions of everyone outside Emperor Abyss City changed drastically. Qin Heng and Zhou Xian fell from their chairs with a boom. Their 5 fingers were trembling as they pointed at Xia Ziluo. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Jian Chenxue in the first battle zone had also gone crazy. The entire battle zone was covered in snow, freezing the souls of the heroes. Those with weaker cultivation couldn't withstand it at all. They instantly threw down their life tokens, and their souls fell into the space. The temperature in the battle zone was getting lower and lower. Those below the 7th tier of the Immortal Gate didn't have time to give up. Their souls were frozen to death on the spot, and a large number of life tokens fell. Chapter 266. The entire battle zone went crazy. Everyone unleashed their peak combat power, especially the female cultivators. Their beauty was unmatched, and their combat power was not inferior to any of the princes. Xia Ziluo had actually comprehended the heaven-quelling technique from the wordless stone tablet. This was a supreme emperor technique of unknown origin. The ancient killing god only knew of this secret technique, but no one had comprehended it. Not even the boundary emperors had comprehended it. They could not see through the stone tablet at all. The human race was in an uproar. Apart from Feng Ling who had the phoenix bloodline, the rest of the female cultivators were all humans. 2 of them were disciples of the insane sect, But they were both in love with Yi Qinghan. Everyone was envious. The Azure Dragon Boundary Emperor's expression changed slightly. He did not expect that the last few dark horses were all human female cultivators. The sixth battle zone where Xia Ziluo was at was twisted into a fried dough twist by her. Countless souls fell into the space, and even more experts were frantically dodging. It was useless even if they had comprehended the space laws. They could only dodge but could not resist. They could only delay and hope to exhaust Xia Ziluo's strength. However, Xia Ziluo had the purple light immortal spirit body. She was not afraid of exhaustion at all. In Emperor Ye's battle zone, 70% of the experts had already approached Emperor Yi. They kept self-destructing, and their souls were severely injured. They fell out of the space. The battle zone had become a meat grinder for the elites. There was no mercy, only victory and defeat. Countless kings' Dao hearts had been shattered. Those who remained were all powerful candidates for the top 1,000 kings. The entire battle zone was alarmed. The battle zones without supreme experts all stopped fighting and stared at the void. Even Yi Qinghan stopped in his tracks. It was as if he had heard a song that commanded everyone to attack the sky. The Heavenly Monkey King reverted to his true form and flew 100,000 miles away. His golden war staff expanded to 10,000 feet and swept across the heavens. A single strand of his aura could instantly kill those in the Immortal Gate realm. Anyone within 10,000 miles of him would be instantly killed. Those with slightly stronger souls could still escape, but those with weaker cultivations would perish immediately. Roar, with a dragon roar, Long Qiong in the 80th battle zone turned into a 10,000 zhang long divine dragon and soared into the sky. One could only see the head of the dragon but not the tail of the dragon. The kings in these battle zones all had ashen faces. It was their misfortune to have appeared in the Golden Era with Long Qiong and the others. They had all become stepping stones for the great emperors to corroborate their Dao. The mortality rate wasn't high, and their corpses were piled up like mountains. Countless corpses collapsed outside Emperor Abyss City. Their eyes were empty, and their eyes were filled with shock and despair. The quasi-emperors of the human race and the myriad races all stood up. The first realm crosser was of utmost importance. Everyone wanted to be born in their own race. This was because the first realm crosser had at least a 50% chance of attaining the Dao. Because he had the inheritance of the human emperor. Dong dong dong, everyone's heart began to beat faster as they stared at the battle zones. First place, Long Qiong, 40,000 life tablets. Second place, Jian Chenxue, 39,000 life tablets. Third place, Xia Ziluo, 38,500 life tablets. Fourth place, Chitian Monkey King, 38,000 life tablets. Fifth place, Xian Jiutian, 37,800 life tokens. Sixth place, Yang Zhan, 37,000 life tablets. Seventh place, Feng Ling, 36,000 life tablets. Eighth place, 12th place, Emperor Yi, 35,000 life tablets. However, this ranking was moving in an instant, and the numbers were climbing rapidly. Emperor Yi wasn't ruthless enough to kill. After all, the heaven-attacking melody was too brutal. As long as she exerted her strength, she could make everyone near her explode and die. This was tens of thousands of people. If she wasn't careful, she would lose control, and tens of thousands of elites would die. They were all aiming for 50,000 life tablets. Once they passed that, they could become the first realm crosser. Si Wuxia was too young and also wanted to display his golden bloodline. Unfortunately, his realm was too low, so he could only pout and slowly fight. Yi Qinghan licked his teeth with the tip of his tongue and revealed a cold glint. He muttered, "My crazy sect already has 2 crazy people. I'll bear with it for now." These dozen people led the experts to go crazy together. Gu Qingyu and Gu Zhendao's sword was like a rainbow that could break the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers. The Golden Jade Thunder God's staff technique could shake a boundary emperor technique. Sikong Qingjun walked to the front of the human race's elites. The rookie and the others also became famous, attracting the attention of the human race's major forces. However, they didn't know that they were already part of the crazy sect. How could they compete with the crazy sect? Haha, the human race is destined to be glorious. Zhang Yunxiao saw a large number of human experts rushing out and becoming dark horses and couldn't help but be overjoyed. More importantly, Yang Zhan was the Zhan family's Dao realm cultivator and could very well become the first realm crosser. The difference wasn't big, and they could turn the tables at any time. Everyone's hearts were hanging in suspense. The experts of the Special Physiques Alliance came out one after another. Tyrant Blood Physique, Sun Moon Physique, Golden Jade Physique, Divine Physique, each of them had unparalleled battle prowess. They were all Imperial Princes. 7 or 8 Imperial Princes appeared in each battle zone. The 45th battle zone was the most tragic. A total of 12 Imperial Princes appeared. They usually hid their bloodlines, but once they unleashed their full power, they instantly crushed their opponents. Heaven Tyrant's lips curled up. This was the time for the Special Physiques to show off. The Special Physiques of the human race were born to prove their Dao. Which emperor didn't have a special physique and terrifying bloodline? Mad Tyrant Dragon, the direct descendant of Heaven Tyrant, had the Tyrant Blood Physique and received Heaven Tyrant's true teachings. His physical body was large enough to tear apart the stars. The Tyrant's technique was powerful enough to pierce the 9 heavens. The Sun-Moon Physique could make the sun and moon appear at the same time, gathering the power of the sun and moon. Who could resist it? This was the true golden era. Unfortunately, these people awakened too late and missed the chance to fight for the #1 battle zone crosser. Feng Wuxie was very strange. He didn't fight for the life tablets, nor did he attack. He just walked in the endless space, comprehending the laws, and comprehending the principles of space. With each step, his aura changed by 30%. He was like a god of wind, gentle and elegant. His hair flew behind him, and with each step, his clothes fluttered. The wind element wrapped around him, making him seem like the son of the wind god, able to command the wind element in the world. Muyu Tianchen was an existence with extremely bad luck. He hadn't even fought before encountering the emperor of the myriad races, the cat emperor of the heavenly cat race. They fought until the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The 2 ultimate existences were both injured, causing this battle zone to not have many casualties. It had to be said that the king level's luck was very good. In the 6th battle zone, Xia Ziluo caught up and rushed to first place. The entire battle zone was crushed by her, but there was still an imperial prince in this battle zone, Zhu. He belonged to the dragon race, and his combat strength was not inferior to Long Qiong's. He was extremely powerful and wantonly seized life tablets, making it difficult for her to reach 50,000. 48,000 life tablets, only 2,000 left. This made the hearts of the myriad races almost jump to their throats. Xia Chintian clenched his iron fists. He wanted nothing more than to rush in and pull Zhu out himself, making Xia Ziluo the first realm crosser. Hand over your life tablets and leave the endless space. Xia Ziluo's terrifying will envelop the battle zone, and she reached out to grab Zhu. Humph, your combat strength is indeed very terrifying. Unfortunately, you are destined to be my dowry. Zhu forcefully broke through the shattered void, revealing his enormous black dragon body. He shattered the distorted space, and a spatial storm covered the entire battle zone. Countless people fell into the space, but their life tablets were scattered in the air, and no one could fight over them. The 2 ultimate existences were confronting each other, and no one dared to be distracted. If they were the slightest bit careless, they could become the other's stepping stone. Looks like I'll have to kill you. Xia Ziluo's peerlessly beautiful face revealed a sense of vigor. Her battle robes formed her body, and her figure was fully revealed, but there was an additional manly temperament. The will in her eyes represented the will of the heavens. Her jade-like hands formed a seal, and an 8 trigrams diagram appeared. It continuously rotated, forming a huge reincarnation vortex. Don't embarrass yourself in front of me with this little bit of power. Once my true body appears, even if the heavens collapse and the earth rends, I won't move. Even reincarnation can't drag me away, let alone an 8 trigrams reincarnation like yours. Zhu's golden body spanned thousands of miles, and the dragon horns on the dragon head emitted a divine light, resisting the tearing force of the reincarnation vortex. Then I'll see if your physical body is stronger, or if the heavens are stronger. I can even crush the heavens, so why can't I crush your Taoist body? Do you still have the strength to use the heaven manipulation technique? The spiritual energy of the entire battle zone has been sucked dry by you, so you're destined to not be able to use a second attack. Surrender and be my dragon concubine. Our children are destined to achieve the position of the great Tao. Zhu shouted forcefully. You're just a snake and you dare to covet me? Xia Ziluo was disdainful. There was no man in this world who could enter her eyes. You're still stronger than Yi Qinghan. Since you're competing with others, it shows that you don't have good taste. Zhu stood proudly in the air and said domineeringly, I'll become the first existence to cross regions and fight. I'll kill my way to his battle zone and kick him out of this space. I'll let you understand who the true Supreme King is. Xia Ziluo's lips curled up. Her 5 fingers tore through the void and tore apart the battle zone's barrier. She mobilized spiritual energy from other battle zones, and 2 spiritual energy dragons spanned thousands of miles. They circled around her golden body and formed a terrifying 8 trigrams diagram. Don't you know that I have the purple light immortal spirit body? Spiritual chi is nothing to me at all. Her clear voice resounded through the clouds, making the quasi-emperor's hair stand on end. Xia Chintian suddenly stood up. He was afraid that Xia Ziluo would go crazy, but he didn't expect her to really go crazy. Forcefully breaking apart the battle zone's barrier would consume her vitality. No one can stop me if I want to win. I don't choose a man based on whether he's strong or not, but on my mood. If you want to stop me from winning, then be prepared to die. Xia Ziluo was too domineering, to the point of no return. Zhu's expression changed greatly. In this endless space, his physical body couldn't descend, so he was at a disadvantage. If he used his soul to resist the heaven manipulation technique, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. I call myself equal to the heavens, destined to be equal to the heavens. I am destined to prove my Tao, and no one can stop me. The heavens' equal Monkey King transformed into a golden body. His battle staff tore apart the void and destroyed countless souls. His life tablets automatically flew into his sea of consciousness. The number of life tablets increased rapidly, rushing to more than 48,000. Moreover, it increased by a few hundred with every breath of time. No one in this battle zone could contend against him, not even the Emperor's sons. They all fled far away. They didn't want to be the first to cross over, but they didn't want to be eliminated. Long Qiong was also angry. The dragon race had always been supreme, so how could they allow others to surpass them? With a dragon's roar, it shook the mountains and rivers. Its aura surged for thousands of miles, and it quickly regained the number of life tablets. Emperor Yi sighed slightly. His fingertips trembled slightly, and his 10 fingers pulled 9 strings. He mobilized all the strength in his body and fiercely smashed the zither. Boom! A hurried melody pierced through the Milky Way and rushed out in all directions. The entire space was suppressed, and the spatial barrier shook, emitting divine light. Chapter 267. Hiss! The sound of space shattering stunned countless people. At this moment, everyone felt like their hearts had stopped beating as they stared at the image of the boundless space. At this moment, Emperor Yi was not the only one who erupted. Almost everyone erupted as well. The top 20 people all erupted with startling attacks. Victory or defeat was decided in one move in each of the 20 regions, splitting the world. A pair of jade-like hands grabbed Zhu's 30,000-meter-tall golden body and twisted it continuously, nearly shattering it. Zhu let out a startling roar and tossed out his life medallion. Before he died, he fled the boundless space. He looked at Xia Ziluo in horror, his Tao heart nearly shattering from fright. Regardless of whether Xia Ziluo became the first person to cross regions or not, her life medallion instantly soared to the peak. The entire region became her captive. With 100,000 life medallions, she ranked first in the entire region. Did Emperor Yi become the first person to cross regions? Some false emperors muttered, not seeing clearly. It should be him. He erupted one breath earlier than the others. The person beside him replied with uncertainty, sweating profusely. It's Emperor Yi. He became the first person to cross regions. The Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor's eyes flickered. He was somewhat shocked that the peak martial Saint Emperor Yi became the first person to cross regions. However, the Zither Immortal Scarlet Fiend physique was an innate sovereign. There was nothing she could not do. The human race was in an uproar. The quasi-emperors raised their heads and roared, so excited that their blood boiled. No one in the region knew who the first person to cross regions was. After putting away the life medallions, everyone waiting for the boundless space's recognition. All the experts stopped breathing and clenched their fists tightly as they stared at the void. The world fell deathly silent. After 3 breaths, the boundless space gave off a bright light. A divine curtain appeared, covering the mountains and rivers. Everyone could see it clearly. The first person to cross regions, Jian Chenxue. A few large words hung in the void. They gave off a resplendent golden light and sparkled with a divine light. The Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor frowned. Could the will of the human sovereign be wrong? It was clearly Emperor Yi who erupted first. Why did Jian Chenxue become the first person to cross regions? Is the boundless space broken? How many tens of thousands of years has it been? That seems to be explainable. The many quasi-emperors showed strange expressions, their mouths twitching. This is impossible. How can this emperor lose to a little girl who is still wet behind the ears? Long Qiong roared angrily. She produced a human body, and then a fist blasted apart the void. Yang Zhan's lips twitched. He flicked his finger and his spear whistled through the air. The first person to cross over was actually a female cultivator. Moreover, it was a little girl that he had never heard of before. Emperor Yi was stunned. He didn't expect that he would still be a step too late even after using his strongest combat power. Yi Qinghan smiled slightly. The first person to cross over was still the Kuang sect. However, he was still surprised that it was Jian Chenxue. He had thought that it would be Emperor Yi. The people in the boundless space all thought that they were too slow. As for the quasi-emperors outside, they all suspected that there was a problem with the boundless space. Jian Chenxue did not explode in the end, so why did he suddenly become the first? Everyone wait. There must be a problem with this endless space. The first person to cross over is very important. This involves the inheritance of the human emperor and cannot be casually changed, the Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor said in a deep voice. Zuoxian was immediately unhappy. This was the boundless space's own choice. If it chose Jian Chenxue, it must mean that Jian Chenxue's life jade number had reached 50,000 first. Brother Azure Dragon, the boundless space chose the expert whose life jade number reached 50,000 first, not who explodes first. In the end, we can't tell who reached 50,000 first. However, the boundless space has its own calculation method. There is no mistake. Of course, Zuoxian had to speak up for Jian Chenxue. As long as Jian Chenxue was the first person to cross over and obtain the inheritance of the 2 human emperors, he would be half a step away from the great emperor's throne. That was the glory of the ancient massacre god. That's right. Since we have chosen to train in the boundless space, we naturally have to follow the rules of the boundless space. Qin Heng said in a deep voice. The experts of the 10,000 races were unwilling to accept this. That was the inheritance of the 2 human emperors. Up until now, no one had obtained it. Now that the boundless space had only opened once, a little girl from the human race had obtained it. I am the will left behind by the 9 Dragons Emperor. I protect the boundless space. The boundless space will not make a mistake. Jian Chenxue is indeed the first person to cross over. She will obtain the inheritance of the 9 Dragons Emperor and human Emperor Shenyuan. There is no need for you to argue. A deep voice came from the boundless space. It was vast and mighty, shocking the forbidden area. The will of the human emperor emitted a terrifying dragon aura. Even the Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor knelt down. The will of the human emperor was immortal even if it had been passed down for millions of years. The first person to cross over and the 100-battle king will enter the space of the human emperor's inheritance together to inherit his legacy. You still have one more chance. What is the 100-battle king? Everyone was puzzled. They did not know that there was such a rule in the boundless space. The 100-battle king is an invincible existence across 100 battle zones. The Nine Dragons Emperor explained in a deep voice and then returned to silence. Long Qiong and the others' eyes flashed. Since the first person to cross over had been decided, they could only fight for the title of 100-battle king. However, the title of 100-battle king was not so easy to fight for. It meant that they would have to fight countless elites to the death. Moreover, their combat strength would be suppressed by the gravity divine chains. After crossing over 50 battle zones, if they encountered the emperor of the original battle zone, they would have a slim chance of survival. No one can stop me from becoming the emperor. Long Qiong snorted. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. The Qilin tiger's face was gloomy. He did not expect Jian Chenxue to be so terrifying. However, he was not afraid. Once Jian Chenxue crossed over to battle, her combat strength would definitely decrease. When she encountered him, it was unknown who would win. Jian Chenxue's expression was normal. The first person to cross over did not make her excited or crazy. Instead, she calmly stepped on the snow dragon and flew towards the barrier of the second battle zone. Once she touched the second battle zone, the barrier shone brightly and sucked her in. Boom! Jian Chenxue felt like she was hit hard. Her soul was suppressed. Her legs sank and a 10-meter-long iron chain appeared on her ankle. It was filled with runes of the Great Tao. Lightning pierced through the void and seized one's soul. The iron chain was as heavy as 10,000 pounds and directly suppressed her soul. Jian Chenxue's face turned pale. She felt that it was difficult to even walk, let alone fight. Fortunately, this was the border of the battle zone. It was desolate and uninhabited, giving Jian Chenxue time to get used to it. With the birth of the first person to cross over, everyone finally relaxed. Xia Ziluo was not satisfied. He clenched his fists and broke through the barrier, entering the 7th battle zone as well. With the gravity divine iron chain on his body, every step he took shattered the ground, making it difficult for him to move. The many quasi-emperors stared at the people who crossed over. When they saw that their combat strength decreased significantly, they knew that crossing over to battle would be a long process. Hence, they did not pay too much attention to it. They all stared at the 45th battle zone. This battle zone had the most emperors and a quasi-emperor's daughter. They had never heard of this name before, Jin Yen. When one was beautiful to the extreme, one would be a demon. She was as beautiful as a demon. There were a total of 12 emperors and princesses. This was the battle zone with the most emperors and princesses, so many that it made one's hair stand on end. Aside from the emperors and princesses who could fight, the others all withdrew. Of the 12, only 5 were from the human race, while the 10,000 races had 7. Yi Qinghan, Jin Yen, Wu Tiangong, and Jiang Heng from the giant race had an absolute advantage in terms of numbers. It was almost 2 against 1. The 10,000 races have always been united. How about we join forces to kill the human race's emperors first? Hu Qianyan glanced at the 7 emperors and found that they were all top existences among the 10,000 races. They could fight against the top kings of the immortal sects and escape from the hands of divine martial experts. Okay, don't let the goodies flow into the fields of others. Let's kill the human race first. The rest will depend on our strength. Hu Mei smiled, her phoenix eyes blurred. She looked at Yi Qinghan with a smile and said coquettishly, "What a handsome and masculine man. Are you willing to become my follower? The pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. I guarantee that you will be overjoyed. Shameless. Trash like you is only worthy of bewitching the emperors of the 10,000 races. How can the human race's emperors be trampled by you?" Jin Yen berated indifferently, afraid that Yi Qinghan would be tempted and betray them. Hu Mei glanced coldly at Jin Yen. A murderous intent flashed in her eyes, but it quickly disappeared. Yi Qinghan smiled and looked indifferently at the human race's side. 5 against 7. They were not ordinary people, but 7 real emperors. On the other hand, the human race only had 3 emperors and 1 quasi-emperor. The difference was thousands of miles. The 4 human race's emperors did not say much. They stood back to back and chose to join forces. There was no other choice unless they admitted defeat. Outside the boundless space, the 10,000 races laughed evilly. 7 against 3. Even the human race's few zone crossers would be eliminated, not to mention Yi Qinghan and the others. The quasi-emperor of the Qilin tiger race raised his head and laughed. He looked mockingly at Xiaqintian and said proudly, "It seems that the materials for your emperor weapon will belong to me." Xiaqintian's face was solemn and his eyes flashed. He looked at the 45th battle zone. Yi Qinghan had lost all hope. A great martial venerable, a quasi-emperor, and the king of the giant race, Tian Gongwu of the divine martial family of the heavenly palace and the god of the heavenly palace. On the other hand, the 10,000 races had the 9-tailed heavenly fox bloodline of the fox race and the sovereign of the tiger race, Hu Chenyan. Any one of them was as strong as Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan indeed has no chance. His luck is too bad. The Azure Dragon quasi-emperor shook his head slightly and felt that it was a pity. Sigh, that's right. He is only a great martial venerable, but he can be compared to a prince of the immortal sect. If he had broken into the immortal sect, he might have had a chance. Now, Hu Chenyan and the other 2 princes can instantly kill any prince of the human race. Many quasi-emperors of the 10,000 races pretended to feel pity, but they were gloating. The expressions of Qin Heng, Zuoxian, and the others changed slightly. They glared angrily at the quasi-emperors of the 10,000 races and scolded, "So what if he has lost?" Yi Qinghan is the disciple of the ancient massacre god. He has fought on the battlefield and has no regrets even if he dies. He did not lose to those of the same level, but to those of the same level. If he had broken into the immortal sect earlier, would the 10,000 races still be here? I won't argue with you. Facts speak louder than words. The ancient massacre god is not afraid of death. I would like to see if Yi Qinghan is afraid of death. Will he fight to the end or throw away his armor and choose to surrender? The Qilin tiger quasi-emperor mocked coldly. The human race immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation and glared at the other party. In the 45th battle zone, Yi Qinghan held the 7-foot berserk hammer with both hands. His aura continued to rise and his soul spirit rapidly soared. In an instant, he broke through from the great martial venerable realm to the beginner stage of the immortal sect. He opened his eyes, which were like the eyes of a dragon, and directly broke through the imprisonment of the endless space. His aura was so strong that Jin Yen and Wu Tiangong kept retreating. Chapter 268. The quasi-emperors of the human race were overjoyed, their blood boiling. They clenched their fists and the corners of their lips curled up as they looked at the quasi-emperor Qilin. Haha, this little guy actually hit his strength. Qin Heng laughed loudly. The heroes of Emperor Abyss City were stirred up as they roared furiously in unison. Fuck, this Guangzong is fucking awesome. How many utmost beings of the same level? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Emperor Yi, Jian Chenxue, Mu Yu, Tianchen, Xikong Qingjun, Stan Wuxie, and Feng Wuxie were all wearing their windbreakers. However, they did not unleash their full power. The rookie, the fraud, and the other 4 experts were almost invincible. Li Jiuzhong was steady and had a strong willpower. He was not greedy for achievements and did not take risks. Therefore, his life jade ranking was still within the top 3,000. Although Shi Ji's battle prowess couldn't be considered extraordinary, without the support of the golden brick, he had been lucky enough to trigger a reward from the essence of metal, which resulted in a golden brick that increased his battle prowess by more than 10-fold, giving him the battle prowess of a crown prince. Now, Yi Qinghan had unleashed his full combat strength and displayed the first tier of the immortal gate. His dragon eyes contained divine light and the embryonic form of the great Tao of destruction appeared. It affected the origin of all things in the endless space and defeated the 7 quasi-emperors with just his aura alone. The faces of the Qilin tiger and the other boundary emperors changed. Yi Qinghan was able to fight against boundary emperors of the Immortal Gate realm when he was only a greater martial honorable. Now that he was in the Immortal Gate realm, even if he was only in the first stage of the Immortal Gate realm, his battle prowess would increase tenfold. Yi Qinghan held Violent Hammer in his hand and took a step forward. His aura soared to the sky and his battle intent was overwhelming. Jiang Heng and the others' expressions changed drastically. Yi Qinghan's battle prowess was beyond their imagination. His battle intent was enough to make the Crown Prince's face pale and lose his will to fight. At this moment, Yi Qinghan seemed to have reincarnated. He was clearly standing there, but when one closed their eyes, one's consciousness could not detect him at all. It was as if he was standing in another space-time. Are you going to hand over your life tablets to me, or do you want me to do it myself? Yi Qinghan asked calmly. It seemed to be a simple sentence, but it contained a supreme will that could not be refuted. Even a prince like Hu Qianyan felt the pressure double. Yi Qinghan, aren't you a bit too arrogant? Even if your soul has the advantage, with the 7 of us working together, Heaven's equal Monkey King wouldn't dare to be this strong. Hu Qianyan coldly said. Fellow Taoist Yi, don't be so overbearing. I don't want to be your enemy. Why don't we join forces? As long as we gather 50,000 life cards, we can fight across the 45 battle zones. Hu Mei Er's aura changed. She became enchanting and charming. Her aura instantly became tyrannical. The strength of her soul instantly surpassed that of Yi Qinghan. The Fox clan and the 9-tailed heavenly fox relied on their souls to survive. The Fox clan's physical bodies were weak, but once they took human form, they would all be top-grade female cultivators. If they didn't have life-saving methods, they would have long been reduced to slaves and wiped out by the long river of history. The endless space was the world of the Fox clan. If they were to erupt, no one would be able to stop them. Yi Qinghan squinted his eyes and stared at Hu Mei Er. He wanted to break through the clouds again. He had never thought that there would be such an existence in this battle zone. Don't refuse, or I'll join forces with them to destroy you first. But I'm a bit reluctant. Hu Mei Er twisted her body and smiled shyly. Fellow Taoist Yi, you're a human. You won't choose to work with the Fox clan, will you? Tiangong Wu asked in a deep voice. Jin Yen and Jiang Heng also stared at Yi Qinghan's back, waiting for his decision. Hu Mei Er, what do you want? The Cyan Wolf clan's crown prince shouted coldly. Of course I want to cross the battle zones. Hu Mei Er tilted her body and pointed her finger at the Cyan Wolf clan's crown prince. Suddenly, a green vine appeared on her fingertip and wrapped around the Cyan Wolf clan's crown prince. The Griffin race's crown prince was furious. He didn't expect the Fox clan's crown prince to turn against him so easily. Just as he was about to attack, Yi Qinghan's figure suddenly disappeared and appeared in front of him in the blink of an eye. Asterisk crack. Asterisk with a crisp sound, Yi Qinghan broke the Crown Prince's neck and took away all the life tokens in the Griffin Prince's Crown Prince's spiritual sea. Hu Qianyan was furious and gathered the other Crown Princes. Even Jiang Heng and the others wanted to work together to deal with Yi Qinghan and Hu Mei Er. Hu Mei Er giggled. After killing the Cyan Wolf clan's Crown Prince and taking his life tokens, the number of life tokens instantly reached 30,000. She was ranked first in the battle zone. Yi Qinghan had 25,000 life tokens and was ranked second. However, the remaining 7 Crown Princes, 4 human race experts and 4 10,000 race experts, wanted to get close to Yi Qinghan and Hu Mei Er to guard against them. Outside the space, Xia Tian frowned. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan and Hu Mei Er to work together. This way, Hu Mei Er would be the first to cross the battle zone since she had the most life tokens. This meant that he had lost the Emperor weapon materials to Quasi-Emperor Qinghan. Brother Xia, give me the Emperor weapon materials. You won't have a chance. Quasi-Emperor Qinghan laughed. In the space. Brother Qinghan is indeed a dragon among men. You're a smart man. Hu Mei Er pretended to be shy and moaned, which made the man's bones tingle. You think you're smart? Yi Qinghan's aura suddenly changed as he swept his blade at Hu Mei Er. His speed was extremely fast, and his blade cut through the clouds and the river. Boom! His attack was unstoppable. Yi Qinghan attacked Hu Mei Air aggressively, which made everyone's jaws drop. Jiang Heng and the others' eyes lit up. As long as Yi Qinghan got rid of Hu Mei Air, the human race would have one more person to cross the battle zone. Hu Mei Air was furious. She didn't expect Yi Qinghan to turn hostile so quickly. Her palms constantly formed seals, and her entire body emitted a seductive aura. A green vine turned into tens of thousands of roots and swept toward the heavy berserk blade. Its vitality was boundless and incomparably tough. Even a divine martial Dao weapon might not be able to destroy it. Break! The heavy berserk blade was attached with a destructive aura, which strangled the vitality of the green vine. The green vine turned into fragments that danced in the sky, and the blade light approached Hu Mei Air's body. Damn bastard! You've angered me. I was kind enough to cooperate with you, but you want to go against me. Hu Mei Air roared. Her 10 fingers turned into sharp claws that tore through the void. Her figure flashed and disappeared into the void. Wu Tiangong and the others were overjoyed. Now that the human race had one more quasi-emperor princess, it would be easy to counterattack the 10,000 races. Kill. Boom. The space in the 45 battle zones collapsed. A total of 9 imperial princes and 1 quasi-emperor princess fought crazily, stirring up the wind and clouds, causing space to fluctuate and the earth to rise and fall. The 7-foot heavy berserk blade was incomparably overbearing. It swept through the army. Yi Qinghan attacked Hu Mei Air until she was forced to retreat continuously. Hu Mei Air's explosive power was not on the same level as Yi Qinghan's, so she could only dodge. However, the space within 100 miles was completely sealed by Yi Qinghan. Every place she wanted to appear was locked down by Yi Qinghan in advance. Heavy Berserk God Slaying Technique. Heavy Berserk God Seizing Technique. Boom boom boom, slash after slash, Yi Qinghan did not know fatigue. Hu Mei Air's waist was cut open by the blade chi, and her soul was severely injured. Damn Yi Qinghan! I'll fight it out with you. Hu Mei Air was infuriated. The sky was filled with green vines that intertwined with each other. They were indestructible. They wrapped around Yi Qinghan and kept shrinking, trying to suppress him. A huge green ball appeared in everyone's sight. Hu Mei Air stood in the air and kept waving. She ordered her natal divine weapon, the Jade Demon Vine, to attack Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan stood in the center and sneered. He clenched his fist and his aura rose. With a stomp, the mountains and rivers within 10,000 miles shook. Heavy berserk heaven punishing style. One with the blade. Boom. With a loud sound, the blade chi broke through the clouds. The Emperor Battle Spirit broke through the shackles and a heaven punishing battle blade rushed out of the shackles. It tore through Hu Mei Air's encirclement and entered the void. It then dived down to the ground and slashed through the void. The green vines exploded and were turned into dust by the blade chi. Hu Mei Air spat out a mouthful of essence blood. Her face was pale as she looked at Yi Qinghan. She couldn't care less anymore. She turned around and ran, disappearing without a trace. Yi Qinghan frowned. It was obvious that he couldn't give chase at this time. Otherwise, when Jiang Heng and the others took away more than 50,000 life tablets, he would have to wait for the people who crossed over to gather enough life tablets. Boom. Hu Qianyan and the other experts were pale as they were forced to retreat. Now that Yi Qinghan had returned, they had no chance at all. After killing a prince with one slash, Yi Qinghan took away a large number of life tablets and coldly looked at the experts. Give me your life tablet. Yi Qinghan's voice was emotionless as he coldly said. Hu Qianyan and the other two were surrounded by the experts of the human race. They couldn't escape, not to mention that although the 45 battle zones were vast, there was a limit. They couldn't escape from Yi Qinghan's palm. Hu Mei Air is an idiot. Hu Qianyan was furious. He threw out his life tablet and gave up on struggling. Yi Qinghan coldly smiled and took the life tablets. The total number was more than 40,000. He only needed 10,000 more to cross over. Then he stared at the remaining 2 princes. You still want to struggle? Yi Qinghan, you can win in the endless space, but it doesn't mean that you are strong. Wait until you get out of the endless space, you will understand, Pucci. Yi Qinghan slashed his saber and directly split his soul. The life tablet fell to the ground. Yi Qinghan took the opportunity to take it. He coldly watched the other party's soul dissipate and said disdainfully, "You talk too much nonsense. You can boast after you win." With 50,000 life tablets and an extra 3,000, Yi Qinghan glanced at Jiang Heng and the others. He didn't go overboard. He directly threw out the life tablets and turned to leave. Outside the space, Xia Tian laughed so hard that tears were about to fall. He laughed exaggeratedly and crazily. He didn't lose the Emperor weapon materials. Instead, he won 3 drops of Qilin blood essence. It was a great harvest. Taoist Qilin Hu, please give me the Qilin blood. So many Taoist friends are watching. Xia Tian laughed. Ka. Quasi-Emperor Qilin Hu's veins bulged. His blood rushed and his face turned red. He wished he could enter the space and kill Hu Mei Er. Her arrogance had ruined the good situation. Take it. I can still afford to lose. With so many quasi-emperors staring at him, Quasi-Emperor Qilin Hu could not go back on his word. He directly took out a golden bottle and tossed it to Xia Tian. Men, pass on my decree. Demote all the direct descendants of Hu Mei Er's race to the status of a concubine. They will never be conferred the title of king. Qilin Hu's embarrassment turned into anger. He roared angrily, implicating Hu Mei Er's race. Who do you think you are? My 9-tailed fox race hasn't spoken yet. What does it have to do with you? A white-haired old man burst out with his aura, releasing a vast emperor's might. He stared coldly at Quasi-Emperor Qilin Hu and said disdainfully, "My 9-tailed fox race is also a royal race. We have produced emperors before. Watch your words. Even if Hu Mei Er made a mistake, I should be the one to punish her." Chapter 269. At the boundary stone of the 45th battle zone, Yi Qinghan stood proudly like a pine tree. He held violent sword and took a deep breath before stepping through the barrier. His figure flashed and appeared in the 46th battle zone. His legs were suddenly locked by the gravity god chains, which weighed thousands of pounds. Yi Qinghan was expressionless. He once again withdrew his cultivation to the middle stage of Great Martial Honorable. He stepped forward and the chains rubbed against the ground, causing sparks to fly everywhere. Dao runes dug into the ground, and lightning drilled into Yi Qinghan's soul to refine it. It was easy to recognize zone crossers. The longer the gravity god chains on their ankles, the more zones they had crossed. Now, the chains were only 10 meters long, which meant that they were zone crossers. A zone crosser's combat power was suppressed at the beginning. They had enough life tokens and were the favorite targets of the original battle zone's experts. As long as they killed a zone crosser, they would become famous. Not only would they get their life tokens, but they would also be fancied by many big forces. There's a zone crosser over there. He came from the 45th battle zone. Brothers, kill him and we'll split the life tokens. This is the first time I've seen a zone crosser. Let's go and meet him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. More than 10 experts joined forces to fight. There were humans and 10,000 races. They were extremely powerful and were not inferior to a prince. Yi Qinghan had just appeared and ran in front of the other party. Yi Qinghan's expression was cold. He glanced at the experts in front of him and smiled confidently. Violent cold light shot out and lightning tore through the void. The endless space environment that had remained unchanged for thousands of years was now covered with dark clouds. Thunder roared and countless laws descended, surrounding Yi Qinghan. It's Yi Qinghan, the human expert who declared war on the Qilin. I didn't expect him to be a zone crosser from the 45th battle zone. The expert from the giant ant race revealed his true form. He was 10 feet tall and his fangs could crush immortal sect Dao soldiers. 14 immortal sects, but I don't know how many life tokens you have. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. Although 1/10 of his soul's power was restrained by the chains, he would not allow these clowns to blaspheme him. Boom, boom, boom. More than 10 experts from the immortal sects, the king of a race and the war king of a region, attacked at the same time. They instantly drowned the area where Yi Qinghan was standing. Yi Qinghan wanted to leave, but the divine iron chains had bound him. He could only resist. Violent 9 styles. Boom, 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 boom. Yi Qinghan brandished his saber in a circle. Saber chi covered a radius of dozens of miles. It was extremely sharp and forceful as it blocked the opponent's attack. The Heavenly Dipper energy shield collided with Yi Qinghan's attack, and a sharp sound pierced everyone's eardrums. The experts from the Celestial sect couldn't withstand it and quickly retreated. Yi Qinghan dragged the iron chain forward, and when it collided with the ground, it emitted a terrifying sound. It was as if the black and white impermanents were dragging the iron chain to reap lives. Destruction. Yi Qinghan raised his saber and used the Great Tao of Destruction. Even though it was just an embryonic form of the Great Tao, it was still terrifying. The Great Tao was merciless. Any cultivator who came into contact with the aura of destruction would be suppressed on the spot, unable to resist the murderous intent of the Great Tao of Destruction. The destruction aura gathered on the immortal sect of Yi Qinghan. The destruction aura gathered on the immortal sect of Yi Qinghan. Not good, everyone was shocked. Some threw out their life tokens and chose to leave the space. Some were too late and were injured by the immortal sect of Yi Qinghan. The destruction aura suppressed their souls and killed them on the spot. Yi Qinghan, I was wrong. Please spare my life. An expert roared. The destruction aura spread from the wound on his arm. His life force was quickly dissipating. Even if he wanted to throw out his life token, the rules of the space would not be able to save him. My giant ant race will not let you off. The giant ant's steel-like soul could not withstand the immortal sect of Yi Qinghan. It was pierced by the immortal sect of Yi Qinghan. The destruction aura enveloped it. In the blink of an eye, the giant ant disappeared and died on the spot. Yi Qinghan's will was firm. If he wanted to be crowned emperor, he had to step over corpses. If he killed one more now, he could save 100 or even 10,000 people in the future. His cold eyes shot out a heaven-defying will. I want to prove my Tao. Who dares to stop me? Swish. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took away 20,000 life tokens. The total number of life tokens was over 70,000. He was ranked first in the 46th battle zone and was ranked 130th overall. Soon, he would be able to enter the top 100. Now, most of the life tokens were in the hands of a few people. Xia Ziluo alone had taken almost 140,000 life tokens. Soon, she would be able to cross battle zones and become the fastest person to cross battle zones in a row. No one knew what the reward for being the fastest person to cross battle zones in a row was, but it was impossible that there would be no reward. Luck was the most important factor in proving one's Tao. Without luck, no one would be able to prove their Tao. Many people triggered the fortunes in the space and obtained a large number of treasures and secret technique inheritances. Shiji's fortune was the strongest. He obtained a strand of metal origin. Unfortunately, it was not enough for him to forge his origin Tao body. Otherwise, his future would be limitless. It would be just a matter of time before he surpassed the Thearcha's son. Congratulations on triggering one of the top 10 missions in the space. There is a supreme treasure in the 46th battle zone. It is the material of a monarch weapon, the dragon scale gold. It is hidden in the endless mountain range. If you can complete it, you will be rewarded by the human sovereign. A majestic voice exploded in Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. He was so shocked that his body trembled. As expected, this space is not as simple as it seems. There are triggered missions, and it is the material of a monarch weapon, the dragon scale gold. Yi Qinghan's expression changed slightly. The dragon scale gold was the scale armor of a 9th-grade divine dragon during the Desolate Era. After years of weathering, it was formed by the accumulation of iron elements into a supreme treasure that could be forged into a monarch weapon. Monarch weapon materials were very rare. Many boundary emperors spent their entire lives and could only find 1 or 2 materials. There were even more boundary emperors who could not find even one in their entire lives. Even great emperors had to spend a lot of effort to forge their own extreme Tao monarch weapon. Yi Qinghan's palms were sweating. There were a total of 12 monarch weapon materials. If he could obtain the dragon scale gold, he might be able to gather all 12 materials in his lifetime and forge an extreme Dao monarch weapon. No longer fighting, Yi Qinghan began to walk along the mountain range. The iron chains collided with the mountain rocks, creating flames. At this moment, the 46th battle zone, which was originally an illusory material, had all turned solid, making it even harder to find missions. What was even more surprising was that Yi Qinghan had just triggered a mission, and the image in the outside world had already disappeared. The boundary emperors could not track his whereabouts. What is going on? Where is Yi Qinghan? The Azure Dragon boundary emperor who had been staring at Yi Qinghan suddenly realized that something was wrong. The image only fluctuated slightly, and Yi Qinghan's figure disappeared. There is also a problem with the image? Xia Chintian was shocked. Yi Qinghan could not have disappeared for no reason. Although there were many princes in the 46th battle zone, none of them were near Yi Qinghan. There were not many people near him, and no one could silently kill him under the eyes of a boundary emperor. The dragon scale gold was extremely important. The human sovereign's mission could not be revealed to outsiders. The rules of the boundless space automatically blocked Yi Qinghan, and the outside world could not find him. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's brows were tightly knitted. He swept his gaze across the endless mountain range. There were green mountains, clear waters, and waterfalls. It was almost impossible to find a piece of hidden dragon scale gold in this endless mountain range. If he relied on luck, how heaven-defying would his luck be? However, he had already triggered one of the top 10 missions. Yi Qinghan could not give up. Sometimes, even great emperors could not obtain monarch weapon materials. It would be foolish to give up. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Boom, boom, boom. The iron chains shattered the mountain rocks. Yi Qinghan concentrated his divine sense and quickly walked through the mountain range. He sensed his surroundings, not wanting to miss any clues. The dragon scale gold should be able to stimulate my dragon blood. My dragon blood will definitely have a reaction if I come into close contact with it. This might be my biggest guarantee for finding the dragon scale gold. Opportunity and strength, neither can be missing. This is the prerequisite for proving one's Tao. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed and he clenched his fists. Triggering the mission was luck and opportunity. He had dragon blood, which was strength. He had to obtain the dragon scale gold. So what if he missed the king of 100 battles this time? Yi Qinghan's footsteps became faster and faster. His divine sense was used to sense the surrounding laws. His eyes shone brightly as he swept his gaze across the mountains. His soul was strangely clear and became stronger. The barrier of peak Great Martial Venerable shattered in the astral wind. With a slight push, he officially stepped into the peak Great Martial Venerable realm. As long as he tempered himself for a while, he would no longer need to suppress his cultivation. Yi Qinghan did not want to miss any opportunity to become invincible. As long as he could take another step forward, he would not want to break through. Traveling 10,000 miles was better than cultivating for a year. Especially in this endless space, it contained the essence of the two great martial venerables. Each mountain and each rock had its own laws and rules. Yi Qinghan discovered the benefits of comprehending the endless space. Feng Wuxie stepped on the wind, his clothes were as white as snow. He smiled faintly and looked at the space. His aura was sometimes strong and sometimes weak. He blended into the space. Everyone else was crazily fighting, only he was walking peacefully. Whoever dared to block his path would be turned into ashes with a flick of his finger. Shirgu relied on the origin of gold to create golden bricks. Those who were hit by his bricks would feel a heavy blow to their soul. They would not be able to escape. If they did not hand over their life jade, they would die. The human race, the 10,000 races, as long as they were opponents, he would be merciless. The determination to prove one's Tao was slowly growing. Yi Mingxi's soul was extraordinarily strong. She had the advantage in this endless space. Although her speed was not the best in history, she could at least kill anyone below the Imperial Prince level. In the 52nd battle zone, she met Lin Aoqiong. Lin Aoqiong's body was like a divine sword, indifferent as he looked at the little girl. "Hey, Brother Aoqiong, you won't attack me, right?" Yi Mingxi waved her little hand and asked with a flattering smile. "I won't." Lin Aoqiong's mouth twitched. Why would he fight with this little girl? If he really kicked her out, how could he face the people of Kuang's sect in the future? "Let's work together, Brother Aoqiong." Yi Mingxi grinned. She was now a 14 or 15-year-old girl. She was peerless, but she gave people the feeling that she had not grown up yet. Lin Aoqiong could not help but feel pity for her. Lin Aoqiong frowned. If he wanted to bring her along, he would have to kill everyone in the battle zone. "Can you please? I only have 20,000 life jade, but I want to go." Yi Mingxi begged in a low voice. Chapter 270. Apart from the first battle zone and the sixth battle zone, all of the 100 battle zones were in a mess. Those who crossed over were greatly suppressed and surrounded by experts. A few unlucky ones ran into emperor-level existences as soon as they appeared. The battle caused the heavens and earth to shatter and the mountains and rivers to fall back. In the end, both sides suffered great losses and became the work of others. Seeing such a scene, the quasi-emperors couldn't help but feel pity. They couldn't blame others for their lack of luck. The most powerful ones were still the previous top 12, Chichen Monkey King, Long Qiong, Yang Zhan, and Xia Ziluo. Even if they were suppressed, they were still invincible. Xia Ziluo, in particular, used the heaven-quelling technique to destroy an entire zone. She became the meat grinder of the battlefield, killing people until their guts were torn apart. Jian Chenxue walked among the mountains and rivers. Snow drifted for thousands of miles, freezing people's souls. No matter how powerful the soul was, it couldn't withstand the torture of being frozen. This kind of freezing could kill the soul. It made it impossible for people to escape from the space. Wherever she passed, people would give up the moment the coldness descended and choose to flee. Xia Ziluo was indeed the fastest to cross the second zone. She was at the 7th layer of the Immortal Gate, not inferior to Long Qiong and the others at all. The heaven-quelling technique was too terrifying. No one knew what kind of reward she would receive for crossing the boundary again. Xia Ziluo's face was pale as she fell from the sky. Her battle strength had dropped too much, and she couldn't even fly. Boom! Xia Ziluo fell to the ground. The earth bobbed up and down. She had the rare supreme power. Jian Chenxue probably couldn't resist much in front of her. She could fight with Long Qiong and the others. Yang Zhan held a golden spear and stood proudly in the sky like a javelin. His battle-intent sword, far surpassing the other emperors. After all, he was an existence that had been sealed for 10,000 years. He had an ancient aura that could steal people's souls. Xian Jiutian was a descendant of the Black Tortoise bloodline. His soul was extremely powerful, and his defense was unparalleled. Even the Black Tortoise shell and divine martial Dao soldiers couldn't break it. This kind of existence was too different. Even ordinary emperors couldn't break his defense. At this moment he was fighting steadily. He wasn't as strong as the others. After crossing the boundary, the gravity chains had almost no effect on him. It was the same for Chichen Monkey King and Long Qiong. The divine chains had almost no effect on existences like them. They would only be affected after crossing several regions. Emperor Yi dragged the iron chains and hugged the divine zither as he walked on the main road indifferently. He was not in a hurry to kill but chose to comprehend. However, no one dared to take the initiative to provoke this frail young girl. She looked like she would be blown away by the wind. Her hair was messy as if she was a wandering child who did not know her way home. Xia Qiue wasn't as strong as Xia Ziluo, but wherever her ice sword passed, no enemy stood proudly. They either retreated or died. Her vigorous body was like a sharp sword that could reach the sky. As soon as she stepped out, she fought in all directions. She was incomparably powerful. Heavenly Palace God and Dugubai had coincidentally been assigned to the same space. The two of them worked together, and the entire battle zone was leveled. The two of them fought across different zones at the same time. Gu Qingyu crossed over and found Lin Wudin. Master and disciple, the solitary sword Dao was unstoppable. Every sword strike was fatal. Even the imperial princes had to retreat. The power of the insane sect was fully displayed in the boundless space. They were comparable to a dozen imperial princes. No sect was as strong as them. In fact, the people of the insane sect were far more terrifying. In the God of Death's world, everyone was cultivating like a madman. The spiritual energy here was rich, and the techniques were complete. Large quantities of pills and precious medicines were provided. The god-slaying eagle was intoxicated, desperately absorbing the secret techniques here. 2 months later, the god-slaying eagle transformed into a couple. Their eyes were sharp. One was vigorous and the other was fiery. Their battle strength was at the top of the celestial gate. If they were lucky enough, it would not be difficult for them to reach the divine martial realm. Di Longtian's speed of growth was very fast. Not being able to participate in the boundless space this time was a great blow to him. The reason he couldn't participate was that his cultivation level was too low and he was too young. Yi Qinghan did not dare to take the risk of sending him into the boundless space. The wordless stone steel and 9 heavens tyrant dragon art steel had already disappeared. Yi Qinghan and Xia Ziluo had successfully cultivated them. Unless they set up a new steel one day, the 2 secret techniques would disappear. Di Longtian had painstakingly cultivated 5 secret arts in the past 2 months. His physical body was growing at an extremely fast speed. He was only 6 years old, but he was like a 10-year-old child. The divine dragon mark on his physical body was about to soar into the sky, constantly tempering his physical body. Nangong Qingyue found a stone steel with the sun-moon yin-yang art carved on it. Before she could see the runes carved on it, she thought it was a divine technique and directly sat down. However, she did not know it was a dual cultivation secret technique. She sat down in front of the stone steel. Her divine sense entered the stone steel and was directly pulled into it. She saw a man and a woman cultivating the grand Tao of yin and yang. Yin and yang intertwined, and the grand Tao of yin and yang burst forth. Boundless vitality attacked Nangong Qingyue's sea of consciousness. Heavens, I'm in trouble. Nangong Qingyue's breathing stopped and her eyes were tightly closed. However, the phantoms in the sky directly appeared in her sea of consciousness. Their bodies were almost empty, and the paths of yin and yang energy could be clearly seen. Yin and yang alternated, causing Nangong Qingyue's yin energy to become restless. However, there was no yang energy, causing the yin energy to become chaotic. It tore apart Nangong Qingyue's vitality, causing a large amount of it to collapse. Muo Tianqian had just successfully crossed over and encountered Nangong Xiaobei. Before he could be pleasantly surprised, his brows sank. He had placed a drop of blood essence on Nangong Qingyue. When Nangong Qingyue was heavily injured or lost her vitality, he would sense it. What's going on? Isn't she killing in the god world? How can this be? Muo Tianqian clenched his fists and muttered to himself, Brother Tianqian, what's wrong? Nangong Xiaobei frowned. It's nothing. Go train first. I've even given you my life tablet. Properly grasp this opportunity. I'm leaving. Muo Tianqian gave up on training without hesitation. Brother Tianqian, you have the battle strength of an emperor. Why are you giving up? Did something happen to Yeye? Nangong Xiaobei hurriedly asked. No, don't think too much. What can happen to her in the god world? Go train first and raise your cultivation as soon as possible. Muo Tianqian threw his life tablet to Nangong Xiaobei. His soul gradually faded out of the boundless space and returned to his body, shocking all the quasi-emperors. Muo Tianqian, you're messing around. Training in the boundless space is a great opportunity. You have the battle strength of an emperor, so why don't you contribute to the glory of the human race and give up instead? Qin Heng coldly reprimanded. Muo Tianqian's body shook and he took control of it. He didn't even answer and directly charged at the ancient god of killing. His speed was extremely fast, far surpassing that of ordinary emperors. Outside the god world, Muo Tianqian's attack wasn't strong, but it still alarmed the god-slaying eagle inside. It quickly woke Di Longtian up and had Muo Tianqian enter the god world. As soon as Muo Tianqian entered the god of death realm, he quickly found Nangong Qingyue's image. When he saw the words carved on the stone tablet, he angrily called her an idiot. He then sat cross-legged on the ground and his divine sense was dragged in as well. Once Muyo Tianxian entered the stele, he saw Nangong Qinyue's blood essence explode and Yin Qi attack her sea of consciousness. It was as if she had gone crazy. Then, he looked at the Yin-Yang Emperor above and immediately understood. Muyo Tianxian had no other choice. Apart from dual cultivation, he could only die here. The secret art in the God world could really kill people. If Muyo Tianxian didn't come back, Nangong Qinyue would definitely die. But this time, his return was the beginning of a transformation for him and Nangong Qinyue. The Sun-Moon Yin-Yang art was created by a husband and wife in the primordial era. Two Yin-Yang emperors appeared in the family, and their battle strength was unparalleled. They had once killed their way to the back of the Forbidden Mountain and retreated unscathed. They had lived for 30,000 years. That era was the most glorious era of the human race. Myriad races and forbidden lands didn't dare to offend the human race. The Yin-Yang emperors were revered by the human race. The only regret was that although the Sun-Moon Yin-Yang art seemed powerful, it cut off the ability of the two emperors to have children. Otherwise, if they were born with the Yin-Yang body, they might be able to break the legend and achieve eternity. No one knew what would happen after they came out of seclusion, but they could predict that a second pair of Yin-Yang emperors would appear in this era. All the experts in the endless space would become their dowry. Why did Marshal Uncle Tianxian suddenly come back? Huang Xiaohu woke up and asked curiously. Di Longtian shrugged. He didn't understand the situation and said, I don't know. He should have been kicked out, so he came back to cultivate. The group of little fellows nodded as if they had understood something, and gathered together to discuss spiritedly. Tai Hua sighed and shuttled back and forth in front of the stone tablet. Without a sea of qi, he couldn't cultivate even if he wanted to. At this moment, he really wanted to be like the others and cultivate with all his might. He wanted to become stronger and help his master protect the crazy sect. Little Tai Hua, what are you thinking about? Di Longtian looked at Tai Hua shaking his head and scratching his head and couldn't help but ask. I want to cultivate, but I can't open my sea of qi. Tai Hua said with grievance. The people who knew Tai Hua immediately gave up. Their thoughts were that Tai Hua's dantian was made of stone and iron. There was no chance at all. Tai Hua, in the future, with your brothers here, don't think about cultivating. We can take care of you. Di Longtian smiled. He finally found a child who was younger than him. He was so cute that he wanted to take care of other children. However, he didn't know how old Tai Hua was. It was just that he couldn't grow up. Tai Hua curled his lips and was extremely unwilling. He didn't know how terrifying he was. Once he recovered his memories, he would probably be able to instantly kill a 9th-stage quasi-emperor. Boom! Yin and Yang gathered in the sky above the godly killing world. The great Tao rumbled, shaking the entire universe. The 8 trigrams of Yin and Yang hung in the sky, shocking the quasi-emperors. What's going on? Why is the Tao of Yin and Yang so dense? Someone comprehended the Tao of Yin and Yang. The Azure Dragon quasi-emperor stared at the ancient killing god. Then, he looked at Qin Heng and Zhou Xian and asked in shock, Your ancient killing god still has an emperor's son that hasn't awakened? Qin Heng was even more shocked. He shook his head and said in a low voice, I don't know. The ancient killing god's inheritance is too long. There are many forbidden grounds that even quasi-emperors can't enter. Perhaps only Tao friend Di Shang knows about the ancient killing god's foundation. However, Zhou Xian also shook his head. No one knew about the ancient killing god's foundation. No one thought that it was Muyo Tianxian. After all, he had just entered the ancient killing god and clearly didn't comprehend the embryonic form of the Tao of Yin and Yang. If he could comprehend it so quickly, it would be too terrifying. Yi Qinghan also didn't think that Muyo Tianxian and Nangong Qinyue would have such an opportunity. They actually comprehended the Sun-Moon Yin-Yang technique and practiced dual cultivation. The only regret was that if one cultivated the Sun-Moon Yin-Yang technique, they might never have a descendant. Chapter 271. In the vast and boundless mountain range, Yi Qinghan walked alone. There was no sense of time or age. His body was covered in dust and his hair was silver white. It was as if countless years had passed. The outside world had already collapsed, but none of this had anything to do with him. He had completely disappeared from everyone's sight. The laws were attached to his physical body, and the origin was affected by the origin of water. Yi Qinghan's soul had never been so quiet before. It was even clearer than listening to Emperor Ye's zither music. He could sense all the profundities and origin of the endless space. With the origin of the great Tao and laws gathered, how terrifying were the 9 dragons emperor and the human emperor. A great emperor could only comprehend one great Tao in his entire life, but the human emperor could comprehend all of it. However, he could not comprehend longevity and eternity. How vast was the universe? Yi Qinghan sighed in amazement, but he also secretly steeled his Tao heart. Sooner or later, he would be able to break through the shackles of this world and attain eternity. My path of Tao verification is decided by me. Even if it is bumpy, I will press forward. What I couldn't do in my previous life, I will do everything I can in this life to complete it. After searching for more than 2 months, he still could not find the dragon scale gold. If it were anyone else, they would have given up long ago. However, Yi Qinghan did not give up. Instead, he became even more determined. I've already searched more than half of the 46th battle zone. Only a small portion is left. Perhaps it is in this small portion of the mountain range. Yi Qinghan looked up at the endless mountain range in front of him. Large trees towered into the sky. They were majestic, making people feel reverence. Boom! The chain was swung and smashed apart a large tree. Yi Qinghan rushed into the mountain range. There was another prince cultivating in seclusion in this mountain range. It was the Azure Flood Dragon Prince. He had the bloodline of the Azure Dragon. His aura was cold and his eyes were dazzling. Perhaps the dragon scale gold had attracted the dragon blood in his body, allowing him to reside here. His cultivation was rising day by day, and he was not even willing to cross regions. He stayed here and cultivated bitterly. His combat strength had increased by several times, making him incomparably powerful. The moment Yi Qinghan stepped into the mountain range, he alarmed him. Sha sha sha, the blue flood dragon prince returned to his main body. His 1,000-foot golden body was covered in scales and exuded an aura of death. His eyes pierced through the void and stared at Yi Qinghan from afar. He stared at the iron chain around Yi Qinghan's ankle and spat out a fiery red tongue. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you insist on barging in. Little human, your dragon blood is even richer than mine. If I devour your flesh and blood, I might be able to ascend to the 8th stage. The Grey Flood Dragon Emperor Prince was a quasi-8th rank divine beast. He had broken through the shackles of the Grey Flood Dragon clan and became a supreme existence. The clan practically treated him as a treasure, and countless resources were spent on him. They only hoped that he could cross over to the 8th rank and lead the Grey Flood Dragon clan to glory. Dong dong dong, Yi Qinghan's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. His qi and blood started to become restless, and his dragon blood boiled. He couldn't help but squint his eyes and look at the mountain range. The eternal forest covered the stars and the moon, exuding an aura of vicissitudes. Danger spread out, but there was also a calling of duty, which made him want to walk into the depths uncontrollably. The dragon-scaled gold is here, but it seems to be dangerous. It seems like there is an emperor's disciple-level expert cultivating in seclusion here. Yi Qinghan was indifferent. He summoned the heavy frenzy saber and stepped into the depths resolutely. The Grey Flood Dragon Emperor Prince was like a mountain range. Its giant head leaned on the mountain peak, and if one didn't observe from a close distance, they wouldn't be able to sense its existence. It was waiting for Yi Qinghan to enter its attack range. As long as Yi Qinghan was within 1,000 meters, no matter how fast Yi Qinghan was, he wouldn't be able to escape from its attack. The mountain range's aura suddenly changed. It was incomparably gloomy, and violent winds blew. The dragon-scaled gold seemed to be summoned and exuded a rich golden light and dragon's might, which alarmed the Grey Flood Dragon Emperor Prince and Yi Qinghan. There is a substantial treasure here. Didn't you say there was no opportunity? The Gray Flood Dragon Emperor Prince was overjoyed. He wanted to move his body, but he was afraid of alerting Yi Qinghan. Thus, he remained in his original position. Yi Qinghan hastened his steps. The gravity divine chains were as light as a feather and were lifted up by him. The heavy frenzy saber tore through the void, wanting to destroy the space. The ancient tree crumbled, and when Yi Qinghan stepped into the sky, the tree returned to its original state as if it didn't receive any attack. Boom! The saber chi tore through the mountain rocks and streaked across the Gray Flood Dragon's body, emitting an ear-piercing rumble. The Gray Flood Dragon Emperor Prince instantly roared and rushed into the void like a divine sword. He opened his bloody mouth, and his fangs pierced through the void. He rushed towards Yi Qinghan, wanting to devour him. Hua hua hua! The void constantly crumbled, and in an instant, the Gray Flood Dragon Emperor Prince's 1,000-meter golden body surrounded Yi Qinghan. His body coiled and twisted, wanting to strangle Yi Qinghan to death. Heavy frenzy attack, heaven punishing break all arts. Yi Qinghan moved like a bolt of lightning. The 7-foot heavy frenzy was unstoppable. It tore through mountains and rivers and crashed into the scales. The friction produced towering flames, but it actually didn't break through the Gray Flood Dragon Emperor Prince's physical defenses. Yi Qinghan immediately frowned. Although the Gray Flood Dragon Emperor Prince blocked Yi Qinghan's attack, the heavy frenzy saber light was cold and sharp. It directly penetrated through the scales and into the depths of his soul, almost torturing him to death. The heart-wrenching pain caused the Gray Flood Dragon Emperor Prince to rapidly twist his body. Yi Qinghan's space to move was getting smaller and smaller, and the space in the sky was getting smaller and smaller. As long as it was sealed, Yi Qinghan would have no way to escape. Swish! Yi Qinghan soared into the sky, wanting to kill his way out of the encirclement. How could the Gray Flood Dragon Emperor Prince allow Yi Qinghan to escape from his encirclement? The giant head swooped down, wanting to seal the sky. His mouth was filled with the smell of blood and poison. Just a whiff of this smell would cause one to faint. Yi Qinghan's metal origin Dao body erupted. The metal origin enveloped the body that was formed from his soul. It sparkled with golden light and didn't allow the filthy poison to approach. Yi Qinghan's body turned into a saber and rushed towards a corner that hadn't been completely sealed. Kacha! The heavy frenzy saber slashed across a piece of raised scale, directly tearing off the dragon's scale. Flesh and blood splattered. The Gray Flood Dragon Emperor Prince felt the pain. He raised his head and roared. The space was shattered as his body distorted and crashed together. However, Yi Qinghan took advantage of this critical moment to rush out of the encirclement. Using stellar transposition, and just as he was about to leave, he was blocked by a piece of scale and the gravity god chain. The Gray Flood Dragon Emperor Prince was overflowing with anger. He swung fiercely and sent Yi Qinghan flying hundreds of miles away. He crashed into a tall mountain, causing the mountain rocks to crack. Die for me! The Gray Flood Dragon Emperor Prince swung his tail at Yi Qinghan, causing the void to shatter. 1,000 feet long golden body soared into the 9 heavens, alarming the boundary emperors outside the space. Who is fighting the Gray Flood Dragon? Why can't I see him? Everyone was shocked. They only saw the Gray Flood Dragon Emperor Prince crazily swinging his tail at the void, causing the mountain range to collapse and all laws to submit. However, they couldn't see his opponent. Could it be Yi Qinghan? He disappeared the moment he entered the 46th battle zone. How could he avoid the images of the endless space? Whoosh! Yi Qinghan soared into the sky. His battle saber soared into the void as he formed seals with his palms. His dragon's might was vast and mighty, suppressing the heavens as his figure gradually appeared. 9 heavens tyrant dragon art, 9 revolutions heavenly dragon style. Yi Qinghan directly erupted with his strongest battle prowess, transforming into a 10,000 feet long golden dragon. He spiraled in the void and uprooted the endless mountain range. A fist-sized piece of dragon scale gold appeared in the reincarnation whirlpool. The light didn't break through the shackles, and outsiders didn't notice it. It was directly captured by Yi Qinghan. The Grey Flood Dragon Emperor Prince's 1,000-feet-long golden body was enveloped by the 10,000-feet-long giant dragon. His 5 claws tore the earth apart, but he couldn't stop the dragon's tearing. The Grey Flood Dragon roared and wanted to break free from Yi Qinghan's restraint. However, the dragon's might was vast and mighty, suppressing his qi and blood. He no longer had the strength to resist and was instantly pulled into the reincarnation whirlpool. Once he entered the reincarnation whirlpool, Yi Qinghan's dragon head swooped down from the depths of the void. He sucked in with his big mouth, absorbing all the spiritual qi and gathering a terrifying power. He directly reached into the top of the whirlpool. With a furious roar, the qi waves collided, shattering thousands of miles of mountains and rivers. The scales that wrapped around the Grey Flood Dragon Emperor Prince's soul were shattered, and his flesh was badly mangled. The mournful roar was accompanied by the aura of death that filled the 46th battle zone. The Quasi-Emperor Prince was so frightened that his legs went soft. He looked at the sky in horror and saw a sky dragon and a Grey Flood Dragon soaring in the sky. His face was deathly pale. The sky dragon was too powerful and too terrifying. It directly suppressed the Grey Flood Dragon Emperor Prince. With a furious roar, the Grey Flood Dragon Emperor was blasted into pieces. Blood stained the ground, and even the mountain range was dyed red. Ugh! A region's king had never seen such a terrifying scene. A prince's soul actually couldn't even break free and was blasted to death. Outside the space, the Quasi-Emperor's hair stood on end. Especially the Grey Dragon Quasi-Emperor, he almost jumped out of his chair. The complete 9 Heavens Tyrant Dragon art. He really succeeded in cultivating it. The Grey Dragon Quasi-Emperor took a deep breath, and his expression changed drastically. Too domineering. Fighting across regions and actually suppressing a race's prince. The other party didn't even have the strength to resist. Is Yi Qinghan trying to prove his Tao? The first prince has fallen. Even if the other princes lost, they could still escape with their lives, but the Grey Flood Dragon actually died. The myriad races and the human race looked at the 46th battle zone in horror. Across time and space, they felt their hearts palpitating. It was as if the giant dragon that Yi Qinghan had transformed into could tear through time and space and descend into the endless universe at any time. A large number of life tablets scattered. They could not be destroyed and were directly swept away by Yi Qinghan, disappearing from everyone's sight. The first human emperor mission has been completed. The second human emperor mission is about to begin. Divine light poured down from the sky, sliding down from the 9 heavens, informing the world that the first human emperor mission had been completed. The second mission was about to be born. Who triggered it was completely a matter of luck. It might be a prince or a king of a region. As long as one had enough opportunities and obtained the human emperor's inheritance, they would no longer be limited to being the first to cross regions or becoming the king of 100 battles. Who completed the first human emperor mission? Long Qiong and the other powerful princes frowned and clenched their iron fists. Killing intent flashed in their eyes. In a golden era, at most 3 to 5 great emperors could appear. The current era was not the ancient era. At that time, there could be 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors. In addition to the experts of the myriad races, there were at least 10 great emperors. But now, it was already the limit for one great emperor to appear in an era. The great Tao was changing, and the suppression was becoming stronger and stronger. It was already impossible for living beings to defy the heavens. Everyone was fighting for this spot. The hunter would shoot the bird that stood out. Whoever was strong would be surrounded and killed by many princes. Yi Qinghan was enduring, unwilling to reveal his true combat strength. If he had not encountered the Grey Flood Dragon Prince, he would not have used the 9 Heavens Tyrant Dragon art. Now that he had obtained the Dragon Scale Gold, he entered the mountain range and waited for the human emperor's reward. Chapter 272. The mountain was majestic and divine light poured down. It was refracted by the waterfall and reflected into the endless universe. It was so dazzling that people couldn't open their eyes. The quasi-emperors squinted and stared at the 46th battle zone. They were deep in thought. Yi Qinghan was in the 46th battle zone. He had just completed the Human Emperor mission when a strange phenomenon occurred there. 9 dragons coiled at the top of the sky. A divine phoenix spread its wings and flew high. A virtual rainbow sword pierced through the Milky Way and descended into the world. Everyone gasped. The Shenyuan sword had disappeared for many years. Now that it was in the endless space, it was as if it had descended into the endless universe and suppressed everyone. Yi Qinghan bathed in divine light. His body was numb. Dragon blood roared and boiled. His soul stirred his body. His body in the endless universe emitted golden light and was about to recover. The guardian sword emitted divine power and stood in his sea of consciousness to protect the golden body. Go. Yi Qinghan's body emitted dragon power. The dragon blood was getting richer and purer. It was getting more and more advanced. The reward for becoming an emperor must be terrifying. Yi Qinghan's soul was bathed in divine light. His soul was nourished and strengthened. The divine light contained the profound meaning of laws, origin, and even the patterns of the great path. They were clearly visible. Young man, I don't know who you are, what your race is, or what your talent is. However, you have the opportunity to trigger the mission. You are qualified to receive the reward. A vicissitude and majestic voice exploded in Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. The will of the human emperor had been passed down since ancient times. Congratulations on completing the first human emperor mission. The reward is not only dragon scale gold but also a drop of blood essence of an 8th grade dragon and a 7th grade fire source. There is also an additional mission. If you become the 10 battle kings, you will receive the fire origin secret technique. Boom. 2 jade boxes shot out from the internal space of the Shenyuan sword. The outside was covered by runes of the Great Path. No one could see what was inside. Yi Qinghan was delighted. He reached out and grabbed the 2 boxes. However, he didn't open them. He looked at the Shenyuan sword quietly and waited for its next instructions. The blood essence of the dragon can be used to create the dragon bloodline. However, the process is very dangerous. It needs to be combined with a 7th grade pill after leaving the endless space. The specific steps are as follows. The first step is to release all the blood in the main body and use the wood origin to maintain the last bit of life force. The wood origin is indispensable. The second step is to swallow the rank 7 blood-forming sacred pill. The third step is to swallow the rank 8 azure dragon blood essence and begin to form blood. If you don't have the origin of wood and a 7th grade hematopoietic sacred pill, do not modify your bloodline. Otherwise, you will die a miserable death. Junior, remember this. The will within the Shenyuan sword did not have any emotional fluctuations. It was just a will of inheritance that told its descendants about the use of the reward. A 7th grade fire source is a type of 6 tastes true fire, second only to an 8th grade sacred flame. It can instantly incinerate an immortal sex Dao weapon into dust. Even a divine martial Dao weapon would crumble under the roasting of a 7th grade fire source. As for the best use of a 7th grade fire source, it can be used to create the acquired fire elemental origin Dao body. 10,000 flames will be born in the heart, and it can burn all things. There is nothing it cannot destroy. Yi Qinghan's palms were sweating. These 2 supreme treasures weren't of a very high level, but they were exactly what he needed. He already had the wood and metal essences. If he could fuse them with the fire essences, water essences, and earth essences, he would be able to form the 5 elemental Dao body. After all, the water essences weren't the same as the water essences. The 5 element Dao body, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. They all countered each other. If he could fuse them into one and form the Dao body, his mortal body would be equal to an undying body. When combined with the Azure Dragon bloodline, even a golden bloodline like Stan Wuxie would not be able to suppress him. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He bowed and said, "Thank you, Senior Human Sovereign, for bestowing me with this technique. As for the dragon-scaled gold, you must not leak it out. Otherwise, you will be hunted down by powerhouses. I will take my leave now." The Shenyuan sword rose into the skies and vanished into the endless space. Yi Qinghan held the 2 brocade boxes. He knew that one contained the Azure Dragon Blood Essence and the other contained the 7th grade fire source. He was very excited. If it weren't for the fact that he was still training, he would have returned to the ancient Slaughter God realm and fused with these 2 supreme treasures first. 10 War Kings, the origin of Fire's secret technique. The reward given by the human sovereign must not be lower than the 7th grade. With the 7th grade origin of Fire's secret technique and the 7th grade fire source, it can definitely burn any immortal sect emperor level existence below the 5th grade. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and resolutely stepped into the center of the 46th battle zone. He began to kill powerhouses and fight for the life cards. Yi Qinghan was already famous in the 46th battle zone. No one dared to fight against him. When they found out that Yi Qinghan had left the mountain range, they immediately scattered and fled into the distance. However, a portion of people rushed into the mountain range from another path. They would rather not train than meet Yi Qinghan. The 46th battle zone was unusually quiet. Even the princes were hiding. No one wanted to fight against Yi Qinghan's 9 Heavens Tyrant Dragon art. Even the Azure Flood Dragon Prince was suppressed. No one else had a chance. Yi Qinghan licked his teeth. He looked at the number of life cards he had. There were only 70,000 of them. If he wanted to go to the 47th battle zone, he would need at least 30,000 life cards. Do you think you can just hide? Yi Qinghan grinned proudly. He spread out his divine sense and tried to find a way out. Unfortunately, the chains on Yi Qinghan's ankles were too loud. Even when he was still 1,000 miles away, his opponents already knew about it. Those who could survive until now in this endless space must be the elites among the elites. Each of them had thousands or even tens of thousands of life cards in their hands. There were only a dozen people left in the 46th battle zone. It was obviously not easy to find these people in the 46th battle zone. Boom boom boom, Yi Qinghan was not in a hurry. There were only 10 war kings. There were only 10 battle zones. He had plenty of time. With some time, he would be able to find 2 or 3 elites to complete the 50,000 life cards in this battle zone and meet the requirement to cross over. Lin Aoqiong and Yi Mingxi moved quickly in the battle zone. Their speed was unparalleled in the past and present. They killed along the way. Even the crown princes were taken out by the 2 of them. The life cards were divided equally between the 2 of them. They had about 40,000 life cards each. As long as they killed the last few people, they could join forces to cross over. Now, many battle zones had learned their lesson. Most people gathered at the battle zone's stone tablet, waiting for the crosser to appear. 7 or 8 crown princes who crossed over did not even have time to appear. They were beaten up violently. 3 of them died tragically. Only half of them managed to escape. The boundary emperors frowned. They did not expect that the racial discrimination was gone. However, the true elites were almost wiped out like this. However, in this kind of situation, even if the elites joined forces, some were unlucky. For example, they met Xia Ziluo, Qitian Monkey King, Yang Zhan, Shen Jiutian, and Long Qiong. Some battle zones were almost wiped out. Outside Emperor Abyss City, tens of thousands of corpses were lying on the ground. There were transfigured elites of the myriad races and human elites. The boundary emperors felt their hearts ache. These were the elites of the elites. It was really a pity that their souls were directly destroyed. Long Qiong, Yang Zhan, and the others were too powerful. They were even more powerful than Yi Qinghan. If there was someone who could prove their Tao in this era, it would definitely be from these few people. Xia Ziluo became the first 10 battle kings. Jian Chenxue froze 6 battle zones. Yang Zhan crippled 6 battle zones. Long Qiong crippled 7 battle zones. Shen Jiutian crippled 5 battle zones. There were also a few elites who crossed over continuously. Half of the battle zones were wiped out. The top 10 were basically decided. However, if they wanted to be crowned king, they would have to continue to open up new battlefields. This was because these dozen or so people were too terrifying. They completely swept through, causing most of the elites who were qualified to be crowned king to be eliminated. All of this had nothing to do with Yi Qinghan. He only wanted to find the elites of the 46th battle zone. On this day, he stepped onto a mountain range. The iron chain shattered the mountain range. His divine sense enveloped the green mountains and clear waters. A trace of light flashed in his eyes. His large hand turned into a large hand that covered the sky and grabbed toward the depths. Boom! An afterimage appeared in the center of the mountain range. Wings covering the sky flapped as it fled into the distance. It looked like a phoenix bloodline. However, its figure was too different from a phoenix's. Its bloodline also looked like a peacock's. Its wings gave off a fiery red light, dyeing half the sky red. Roar! A peak bird-type sovereign was as fast as lightning, tearing through the void. This was a quasi-emperor scion with several king-grade bloodlines. Even if he could not defeat a martial emperor, no one could stop him if he wanted to flee. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up. He finally found one after much difficulty. How could he let him escape? Boom! Stomping on the ground, Yi Qinghan used the spatial laws and disappeared into the void. The distance of 500 kilometers seemed very short. Yi Qinghan appeared in front of the other party. Then he raised his saber and hacked at the flying beast. Boom! The flying beast seemed to have rammed into Yi Qinghan's saber. The saber light flashed and cut through its wings. Yi Qinghan raised his large foot and stomped on the back of the bird. The iron chain locked its neck and stomped it to the bottom of the mountain range. Trees collapsed and blood splashed in the void. The flying beast roared. Without caring about anything else, it threw out its life tablet. Its soul gradually dissipated. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. In the end, he did not choose to start a massacre. He had obtained 10,000 life tablets. There were less than 10,000 left. At least one more super elite would be eliminated. Yi Qinghan's eyes grew colder. He used the spatial laws to the extreme. He could sense any spatial fluctuations within 500 kilometers. His speed was extremely fast. He changed his position and rushed into the distance. The space to hide was getting smaller and smaller. There were only 12 elite martial artists left in the 46th battle zone. The three princes' faces were ugly. They kept approaching the 40th battle zone's stone tablet. If this goes on, we will be killed sooner or later. Let's fight together. Yi Qinghan is now a peak great martial venerable. We are immortal realm stage 3 to stage 5. It should be easy to kill Yi Qinghan. The Mantis King clenched his iron claws. He looked coldly at the martial artists beside him and said in a deep voice, "This Yi Qinghan is too strong. If he uses the move that killed the Grey Flood Dragon Emperor, we will all die. This boundless space is to ensure that we emperors and quasi-emperors do not die. Only then will we be at ease. If we face such an existence, I'm afraid you three emperors' sons won't have the confidence to survive." Some of the emperors were not willing to fight together. However, they were not willing to give up either. Their faces showed that they were struggling. He's just a great martial venerable. How much power can he unleash? Once is enough. He definitely won't have the chance to unleash it a second time. Moreover, it's obvious that he has completed the human emperor's mission. The human emperor's reward is probably an opportunity that we can't obtain in our lifetime. If you don't dare to fight, then leave the 46th battle zone. We are willing to fight. However, we don't want others to take advantage of us. The Mantis King shouted. The three emperors' sons looked coldly at the emperors. They decided to deal with external threats first. They would focus on dealing with Yi Qinghan. Chapter 273. With the three princes leading the 11 kings, they sneaked into a mountain range and prepared to ambush Yi Qinghan. However, they did not know that Yi Qinghan had already destroyed the entire war zone, leaving only this mountain range. Therefore, their ambush seemed somewhat laughable. Kacha! Boom! Yi Qinghan dragged the iron chain behind him, causing dust to fly everywhere. He was like a demon from hell, cold and soul-stealing. His 7-foot heavy sword was like an indestructible divine weapon, causing everyone's hearts to tremble in fear. Step by step, he walked towards the mountain range. Every step he took felt like he was stepping on the hearts of kings. Some of them could not take it anymore. Their blood and chi stagnated, and their hearts felt like they were about to explode. Thump, thump, thump. Their heartbeats became faster and faster, and the rhythm was controlled by Yi Qinghan. They could not take it anymore. 3 kings threw out their life cards and frantically fled into the distance, hoping that Yi Qinghan would not attack their souls. Yi Qinghan sneered. He grabbed at the void and took away the life cards. He coldly looked at the 3 princes who jumped out from the mountain range. The moon-devouring Ash Wolf King was at the Imperial Prince level. The Mantis King was at the Imperial Prince level. The Ironback Pig was also at the Imperial Prince level. The rest were all experts who could be conferred the title of king. 5 of the 10,000 races, 3 of them were from the human race. They were all direct disciples from ancient times. Even an ordinary inner sect disciple was comparable to the chief disciple of a large family. They had a deep foundation, and the weapons in their hands were much stronger than the weapons used by the disciples of ordinary superforces. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently and stared at the 3 hidden disciples of the human race. He could not tell where they came from, but since they dared to cooperate with the 10,000 races to deal with the elites of the human race, it meant that the glory of the human race was not important to them. You want to ambush me? Yi Qinghan held the heavy sword and took the life cards of the 3 experts. He could already cross regions, but he did not leave. Instead, he looked down at everyone and asked coldly. Gulp! Yi Qinghan's stare made the hair on the back of their necks stand on end. Their faces turned pale, and they swallowed their saliva. They wanted to retreat, but they were forces that had been passed down since ancient times. They had always looked down on the Dao realm cultivators of the Holy Lands who walked at the forefront of the human race. Even when they met the Emperor's son, they always felt that he was superior. If they were scared away by Yi Qinghan, they would be laughed at by their fellow disciples. Roar, with a low growl, the moon-devouring ash wolf returned to its original body. Its claws were the immortal Sex Dao weapons, and its fangs were even more terrifying than the immortal Sex Dao weapons. It arched its body, ready to launch a terrifying attack at any moment. The back of the ironback boar monster was completely covered with black scales. They were densely packed and overlapped with each other. They could block the attacks of the immortal Sex Dao soldiers. If their physical bodies could enter, they would definitely be able to withstand the combined attacks of several princes. At this moment, the 3 princes were looking at Yi Qinghan cautiously. Even if the ironback boar monster's defense was unparalleled, its eyes were still full of vigilance. It glanced at the heavy sword, and its iron scales emitted an eerie cold light. Its defense was activated to the extreme. The Mantis King transformed into its true form. Its 2 large pincers crushed the ground. The solid ground and rocks were as fragile as tofu in its hands. 2 green rays of light stared coldly at Yi Qinghan. It said in a low voice, Yi Qinghan, don't kill everyone. You can cross regions now. The 47th battle zone is right in front of you. Why aren't you leaving? Do you want to raise the 46th battle zone to the ground? So what if I am? Yi Qinghan replied in a domineering manner. The 3 princes and the 8 kings' faces turned gloomy. They felt Yi Qinghan's disdain and were instantly enraged. Brat, which sect are you from? How can you be so arrogant and despotic? Do you know where I am from? A young man wearing a yin-yang 8 trigrams gritted his teeth and walked out. He asked coldly. Yi Qinghan's eyes blurred. This kind of clothing was rare, but it didn't mean that he couldn't recognize it. The immemorial yin-yang school could be traced back to the barbaric ancient era. It had long disappeared in the river of history. He originally thought that it had been destroyed, but he didn't expect that it was just a hidden sect. Which of the yin-yang 8 divisions are you from? Yi Qinghan sneered and asked. The young man was shocked. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan to expose his identity with a single sentence. He even knew that the yin-yang school was divided into the yin-yang 2 divisions. The yin-yang school was further divided into the thunder, reincarnation, soul, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Any one of the yin-yang 8 divisions could sweep through a superpower. They were comparable to the Dao realm experts of the Holy Lands. They were incomparably powerful as the barbaric killing god. any one of their disciples would be treated with respect by the Tao realm experts of the Holy Lands. You actually know about the Yin-Yang 8 divisions. Yes, I am from the Yang division, Lei Zifeng of the Thunder division. If you know what's good for you, then get lost. Otherwise, once you leave the space, I can kill you with a wave of my hand. The young man was very arrogant. His eyes were full of disdain. Yi Qinghan's soul was a bit more powerful. He was at the great revered realm. If he were in the Yin-Yang school, he wouldn't even need to guard the door. Not to mention, the soul division of the Yin-Yang school could easily sweep through a war zone. If they sent out a decent young expert, they could instantly kill Yi Qinghan's soul. Therefore, when the young man saw that Yi Qinghan had recognized his origin, he immediately prepared to use the forces behind him to threaten Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan indifferently smiled. He didn't expect that the Yin-Yang school would produce such a trash. He actually wanted to use his name to scare people. In the current golden era, the older generation experts couldn't kill the younger generation. If the Yin-Yang 8 divisions really came to kill him, then it would be a great advantage. If you can recognize the Yin-Yang 8 divisions, then you must know where I come from, right? If you don't want to offend me, then hand over all your life cards. Then you can go to the 47th war zone. You and I will mind our own business. Another disciple of a powerful hidden sect walked out. Although he was a very ordinary disciple, he had the battle strength of a king. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but admire these hidden sections. They really had a way to cultivate their disciples. A sect or family was equivalent to the union of several races among the 10,000 races. This disciple had a golden Xian character embroidered on his left shoulder. It looked similar to the kilt's character of the ancient killing god. However, this disciple's origin wasn't any weaker than the ancient killing god. Moreover, his sect's cohesion was even stronger. Xian sect, the ancient killing god's inheritance. This sect had produced 3 great sovereigns. It was also known as the Emperor Xian sect. This Xian sect hadn't appeared in the world since ancient times. Yi Qinghan didn't expect that a disciple would come out. However, this disciple didn't necessarily have the permission of the Xian sect. It was very likely that this disciple had made a decision on his own. Each one of your origins is bigger than the last. Xian sect, Yin-Yang Thunder sect. However, I really can't see through this person's origin. Yi Qinghan laughed coldly and looked at the last human. This person looked very ordinary, but his aura was very special. It was very holy. However, there was a trace of ghostly qi in this holy aura. It was similar to the Ghost Emperor. Although it was very reserved, it still couldn't escape Yi Qinghan's eyes. Shen Ke of the God Ghost sect greets fellow Taoist. The young man bowed slightly. Yi Qinghan had never seen or heard of the God Ghost sect. However, the Yin-Yang 8 sect's Lei Zifeng and the Xian sect's Xianzhong's expressions changed drastically. They instantly changed their positions and maintained a distance from Shen Quebec. They looked at each other cautiously. Killing intent appeared in their eyes, as if they had a blood feud with the other party. Shen Ke? God Ghost sect, you still dare to walk out so openly? Aren't you afraid that the human race will kill you? Xianzhong shouted coldly. Why wouldn't I dare? Do you dare to attack me? Even if you joined forces, can you do anything to me? Even if you boundary emperors came personally, you wouldn't dare to attack me. I revealed my identity because I think highly of Yi Qinghan. Shen Ke's aura changed. The Ghost Emperor's aura became thicker and thicker. His aura changed completely. Ghost Emperor technique? God's Spirit technique. You actually merged them together. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. He gripped his heavy berserk saber and a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Ghost Emperor technique. You actually know this secret technique. It seems like you know quite a lot. However, your eyes seem to be the same as those of ordinary people. This is quite disappointing, Shen Ke said indifferently. I don't know about the God Ghost sect, and I don't have any prejudice against this sect. However, since you cultivate the Ghost Emperor technique, you have a grudge with me? Yi Qinghan's killing intent rose. He was about to attack. Then do you know the origin of the Ghost Emperor technique? It must be because of the first-generation Ghost Emperor technique passed down by the people of the world. The people of the world are ignorant. Seeing how dense your righteous aura is, I didn't expect you to be as ignorant as the people of the world. Shin Kei said disdainfully. His aura rose as he confronted Yi Qinghan. He wasn't at a disadvantage at all. At this moment, the expressions of the 3 princes and the 7 kings changed greatly. They didn't expect such a terrifying existence to be hiding by their side. However, they didn't know that if Shin Kei suddenly attacked, he could instantly kill them. Leave your life tablets behind and scram. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing you. Shin Kei shouted coldly as his divine sense locked onto the 10 experts. Good. Shin Kei, just you wait. Others don't dare to kill you because of your sect master. My Xian sect isn't afraid of you. Don't leave Emperor Abyss City. Otherwise, my Xian sect will kill you. Xian Zhong threw down his life tablet and said ruthlessly. His soul disappeared into the boundless space. Lei Zifeng's expression changed as well. He put down his life tablet and glared coldly at Yi Qinghan and Shin Kei before disappearing into the boundless space. The 3 princes' fingers trembled as they realized that things weren't going well. They didn't have much confidence in dealing with Yi Qinghan alone. Now that there was an even more terrifying expert from the Divine Ghost sect, their chances were slim. Therefore, they gave up and escaped from the boundless space. Once they escaped, the remaining kings didn't dare to struggle. They chose to give up on their training and left the space. Only Yi Qinghan and Shin Kei were left in the 46th battle zone. Their auras rose, and although they were more than 10 meters apart, their clothes fluttered as their auras clashed. Shin Kei's cultivation level wasn't high, but his aura alone could completely suppress Yi Qinghan. Unless Yi Qinghan gave up on suppressing his cultivation level, he wasn't confident in winning this battle. Yi Qinghan's killing intent had already been revealed, and he didn't want to hide it anymore. Just as he was about to release his cultivation level to kill Shin Kei, he saw Shin Kei's aura dissipate as he looked at him calmly. Do you know the true origin of the Ghost Emperor technique? Shin Kei asked calmly. Wasn't it created by an almighty during the end of the primordial era? Yi Qinghan asked with a frown. Chapter 274. In the 46th battle zone, wild winds howled and killing intent shot out in all directions. Dark clouds rolled and covered the stars and the moon. 2 experts were dressed elegantly as they swept across the mountains and rivers. Childish. How could someone from the end of the immemorial period create such a high-level secret technique? The Ghost Emperor technique originated from the Divine Ghost sect and was passed down from the mythological era. The Divine Ghost sect controlled the Divine Spirit technique while the Ghost sect controlled the Ghost Emperor technique. At the end of the immemorial period, the Ghost sect betrayed the Divine Ghost sect and went crazy while cultivating the Ghost Emperor technique. He devoured the souls and vitality of 10,000 races to cultivate, which angered the heavens. From then on, the Ghost Emperor technique was notorious for being evil and even implicated the Divine Ghost sect. But why don't you think about it? What kind of secret technique isn't created to kill people? Is the Ghost Emperor technique considered an evil secret technique because it kills people? Have you ever killed anyone with the secret technique you've cultivated? Can it be called an evil secret technique? Doesn't it also depend on who has the secret technique and what method is used to cultivate it? Shin Kei's lips curled into a mocking smile as he mocked coldly. Yi Qinghan was shocked. So the Ghost Emperor technique was a product of the Divine Ghost sect and was passed down from the mythological era. What era was the mythological era? Since ancient times, wasn't it the beginning of the Savage era? A Ghost Emperor technique could stir up the world. How powerful was the Divine Ghost sect? You don't understand history at all. You're making wild guesses about whether a secret technique is good or evil. What a joke. The Divine Martial Emperor and the Awakening Emperor both joined the Divine Ghost sect. If the Ghost Emperor technique is really an evil secret technique, how could the Divine Ghost sect be passed down until now? Yi Qinghan nodded slightly. Regardless of whether what Shin Kei said was true or not, what he said definitely made sense. Any secret technique was created to kill people. It all depended on the method of cultivation and the goal after cultivation. Why are you telling me this? Yi Qinghan squinted his eyes and looked at Shen Ke cautiously. No matter how reasonable Shen Ke's words were, people who cultivated the Ghost Emperor technique could not be trusted. I want to cooperate with you. I want to cross regions and search for my own opportunities, Shen Ke said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan lowered his eyes and pondered. Cooperating with the Divine Ghost Sect was like asking a tiger for its skin. The Divine Ghost Sect was unfathomable, and the 10 War Kings mission had yet to be completed. Yi Qinghan did not want to fight with the Divine Ghost Sect, which would affect his own mission. When we arrive at the 48th zone, we will rely on our own abilities. Only one of us can enter the 49th zone. Yi Qinghan threw down some life cards and stepped into the 48th battle zone. As soon as the two of them entered the 48th battle zone, Yi Qinghan's gravity god chain lengthened once again. Step by step, Yi Qinghan no longer hid his strength. He started a crazy competition with the God Watchtower. Both of them were fighting hard. Whoever reached 50,000 first would be able to stop the other from crossing the battle zone. In the 49th battle zone, a small white bird that looked extremely wretched was crawling forward. Who else could it be other than that devouring spirit eagle? It wasn't just the parrot's soul that had entered the endless space. Its physical body had also entered. As long as there was spiritual energy, nothing could stop it. As long as there were treasures here, nothing could stop it. In the 49th battle zone, the Qilin Tiger triggered the 9 Dragons Emperor's mission. Congratulations on triggering the second Human Emperor's mission. In the 49th battle zone, there is a low-tier 8th rank secret technique called the Heaven Flipping Palm. It is hidden in a brocade box. It is a secret technique that Human Emperor Shenyuan created when he was young. If you find it, you will be rewarded with a mid-tier 8th rank Azure Dragon Blood Essence. The Qilin Tiger was overjoyed and wanted to roar. A Human Emperor's mission, and a second one at that. It was clear how terrifying his opportunities were. The Heaven-Flipping Palm was definitely a supreme treasure of the human race. Once it was cultivated, it would allow one to look down on all living beings of the same level and display the glory of the Human Emperor when he was young. However, before he could cheer, the parrot rushed towards a mountain range with a wretched expression in less than half an incense stick's time. There are treasures in this godforsaken place. The parrot soared into the sky and rushed towards the center of the mountain range. Although the Heaven-Flipping Palm was wrapped in a brocade box, it still exuded Emperor's runes and was full of spiritual energy, attracting the parrot. No one had ever seen a bird wearing the immortal Taoist robe. It also had a pair of transparent wings that boosted the parrot's speed. Its speed was already very fast, and with the wings of the immortal Taoist robe, no one noticed it at all. Even if they did, they would think it was a virtual creature in the space. In the depths of the mountain range, the green birds flew into the air, as if they were frightened. They all fled into the distance. The parrot descended with its head held high. It twitched its nose and sniffed with all its might. Its eyes were fixed on a narrow cave. There were still some weeds growing on top of it. The Qilin Tiger might not be able to find such a place even after months of searching, but the parrot found it quickly with its instincts. Ah, baby, I'm here. The parrot's sharp claws tore apart the weeds above it and plunged into the cave. It took out a big gem from the heaven and earth ring to illuminate the cave. The cave was not big and was surrounded by stone walls. There was only a brocade box hanging on the wall. The parrot carefully put it down and opened the brocade box. There was a book of a secret technique emitting a golden light. Runes of the great Tao filled the space and did not dissipate. Heaven-Flipping Palm? What kind of cultivation technique is this? It's a secret technique of the human race. This divine bird can't cultivate it. The parrot's entire body was emitting a trace of evil energy. It did not understand what the Heaven-Flipping Palm was. Forget it. Since I got it, it's fate. Maybe I can exchange you for a 6th grade sacred pill with my master. The parrot stored the heaven and earth upheaval palm into its spatial ring. Then, it shook its head and sighed. It was like a beggar who had found a diamond and wanted to exchange it for a large piece of cake. Outsiders would never be able to understand the psychology of a pervert. As soon as the parrot obtained the heaven-flipping palm, the 9 heavens divine light poured down again, enveloping the world. The second human sovereign mission has been completed. The third will soon begin. Everyone was stunned. The second mission had been completed too quickly. The Chilean tiger's mouth twitched and he clenched his fists. After a long time he roared, "Who dares to steal my opportunity? I'll kill you!" An angry roar shook the heavens and spread throughout the 49 battle zones, scaring all the heroes into chaos. The parrot could hear it clearly in the mountains tens of thousands of miles away. It showed how angry the Chilean tiger was. "I completed the second human sovereign mission? Oh my, then what's my extra reward? Please don't give me any more secret techniques of the human race. Give me some pills. It's best if it's a 9th grade divine pill. Let this divine bird soar into the sky and become an emperor-level divine bird. I'll conquer the world." The parrot was shocked by the Chilean tiger's murderous energy. The emperor's will descended. The virtual image of the 9 dragons emperor appeared in the cave. It had 9 giant dragon heads and a human body. It was incomparably majestic. Plop, the parrot knelt down without any integrity. Its mouth was full of saliva. "The emperor of my race, do you think this little one can still achieve it? If you can, give me some opportunities. Just give me some 8th grade or 9th grade divine pills. If you can't, give me an emperor-level secret technique that can be cultivated by the spirit-devouring divine eagle." The parrot touched the saliva on its mouth and flattered to the extreme. If it wasn't for the emperor's strong pressure, it would have pounced on him. The 9 dragons emperor had lived for so many years, but he had never seen such a weirdo. Moreover, it was a will that carried the inheritance. He was stunned by the parrot's words. "I'm just a will of inheritance. I can't decide what to inherit. This time, I'm inheriting a drop of 8th grade mid-level Azure Dragon blood essence. The fated one can obtain it. The blood essence can forge the dragon bloodline," the will of the 9 dragons emperor said in a low voice. It didn't care whether the parrot could understand it or not. "Fuck, does this divine bird want to change its bloodline? Then I'll be neither a dragon nor a bird. Wouldn't I be a freak?" The parrot's face was full of disdain. It sneered at the mid-level 8th grade Azure Dragon blood essence. As arrogant as it was, it didn't even care about the mid-level 8th grade Azure Dragon blood essence. However, it didn't know that the reward it received was dozens of times better than Yi Qinghan's low-level 8th grade Azure Dragon blood essence. What should I do? It wasn't easy to complete the human emperor's reward, but I received 2 useless things. This is really infuriating. The parrot received a golden bottle. Inside the bottle was a drop of round blood essence. It emitted a dragon's might and exuded a vigorous vitality. The dragon's blood contained countless secrets. Unfortunately, the parrot didn't know how to use it at all. It only wanted to rely on the miraculous pills to soar into the sky and become a true supreme divine bird. It would be great if it was the blood essence of a divine phoenix. At least it would be from my divine bird race. This Azure Dragon blood essence. This divine bird doesn't want to become a worm. But this bottle is not bad. I'll put it away first. The parrot whispered and put away the jade screen. It was definitely a treasure that could contain the 8th grade dragon blood. The parrot didn't know if it was greedy or not satisfied. It inexplicably received the human emperor's reward, but it was listless. It flew out of the cave and saw the Chilean tiger killing everyone in sight. It couldn't help but tremble. Damn, why am I in the same space as this guy? I'm no match for him. I'll run to the 50th battle zone. The parrot didn't dare to provoke him. It put away its immortal robe and disguised itself as a virtual bird in the space. It slowly fled into the distance. The Chilean tiger was in a killing frenzy. It had already obtained 50,000 life tablets, but it didn't want to leave. It wanted to take back the heaven-flipping palm and the Azure Dragon blood essence. Any creature that appeared in its attack range would be killed instantly. It didn't matter if it was a human or a myriad of races. Even virtual creatures in the space would be killed. Die for me. Whoever took my inheritance, hand it over voluntarily. Otherwise, I'll kill everyone in this battle zone. Now, except for me, no one can cross the zone. Even if you want to leave the space to train, you can't take the inheritance away. If you want to take the inheritance away, you have to at least complete a cross-zone task. So, be smart and hand it over. I'll make you my follower and help you attain your Tao. The Qilin tiger's face was ferocious. In order to take back the heaven-flipping palm and the 8th grade dragon blood essence, it was going crazy. The parrots but tightened. It didn't dare to speed up and escape. It still flew forward slowly. Boom. The Qilin tiger killed a human. His soul didn't even have time to escape. The Qilin tiger's blood was boiling. Its eyes scanned the sky and found the parrot. No matter how the parrot pretended, it couldn't hide its wretched aura. Moreover, the Qilin tiger hated the parrot to the core and wanted to devour its flesh and blood. Chapter 275. The Qilin tiger sneered. He did not expect to meet the parrot in the 49th battle zone. In a flash, he appeared in front of the parrot with a ferocious expression. Little parrot, you didn't expect to meet me, did you? The parrot's hair stood on end as it smiled. Oh, it's brother Qilin tiger. What a coincidence. Haha, I heard that your opportunity was taken away by someone. I think I saw a powerful prince bathing in the divine light and then running in that direction. The parrot said flatteringly as it pointed into the distance. The Qilin tiger was suspicious. He sneered and asked in a low voice, is that a human or a shape-shifting elite? It's a human. It's definitely a human. How could there be an elite among us who dares to steal your opportunity? These scum deserve to die. Brother Tiger, you go destroy him. The parrot's voice was filled with righteousness and seriousness. Brother Tiger, go destroy him. A human. I know. Since you gave me good news, I'll give you an opportunity. How about I send you to hell? The Qilin tiger clenched his fists as his eyes were filled with killing intent. The parrot's hair stood on end as it flew backward. It looked at the Qilin tiger angrily and roared, I've told you such important news. Instead of killing others, you came here to kill others. You're hopeless. Don't worry. He can't take away the opportunity if he doesn't cross over. I have 60,000 life tablets in the 49th battle zone. No one can take away my opportunity. The Qilin tiger sneered and looked at the parrot with disdain. As for the arrogant sect and you bastard, you've humiliated me time and time again. Today, I'll make you pay with interest. Fuck, you've misunderstood this divine bird. How could I submit to a human? I just wanted to numb Yi Qinghan. That bastard signed a contract with me, and I was just thinking about how to break the contract and pledge my loyalty to the myriad races. But that bastard just refused to break the contract. I endured the humiliation. You have to understand my intentions. I'm wholeheartedly devoted to the myriad races. The parrot was going crazy. It was not as fast as the Qilin tiger and its combat power was not as strong as the Qilin tiger. Seeing that the stone tablet was not far away, it kept thinking of ways to escape from the Qilin tiger. Do you think I believe you? The Qilin tiger asked indifferently. You have to believe me, the parrot said solemnly. I swear on the souls of my ancestors that one day, I'll bring the insane sect to a dead end. You go kill the crown prince of the human race, take back the opportunity, and let me go. What do you say? I don't need you to destroy the Kuang sect. So, whoosh, when the parrot heard this, it immediately rose vertically. Then, it made a turn in the air and rushed towards the war zone's barrier. Fuck your ancestors. Little tiger, remember this. This divine bird will remember you. The next time I see you, I will definitely send you into the forbidden area and let you and the dead spirit live a good life. The parrot traveled dozens of miles in the blink of an eye. The barrier of the war zone was right in front of its eyes. It didn't hesitate to curse loudly. Boom. The Qilin tiger revealed its true form and roared. It reached out with its claws, shattering the space in front of it in an attempt to stop the parrot from getting close to the barrier. The void and earth around the war zone's barrier collapsed. The Qilin tiger's aura suppressed the heavens. The Qilin tiger's aura was enough to suppress any powerhouse of the 10,000 races. However, the parrot didn't care about the bloodline power at all. It moved the stars and rushed to the war zone's stone tablet, glaring at the Chilean tiger. Boy, you've pissed me off. Those who go against this divine bird will not have a good ending. The Chilean tiger sneered and said disdainfully, keep running. I'd like to see how you can cross over without a life token. Crossing over is like drinking water to me. There are no restrictions at all. Look, I'm crossing over. The parrot swooped down and rushed to the 50th war zone, disappearing in front of the Chilean tiger. The Chilean tiger's pupils shrank. It didn't expect the parrot to cross over without a life token. Boy, I'm out again. Come and bite me. If you dare to cross over, I'll kill you. The parrot taunted with disdain. The Chilean tiger was furious. It had offended the Taisway fungus and the insane sect this year. A little girl could humiliate it, and a little bird dared to offend it. It was unforgivable. The Chilean tiger roared and wanted to cross over to kill the parrot. However, it hesitated when it thought of the human emperor's reward in the 49th war zone. Boy, don't you dare to come? Or are you thinking of the human emperor's inheritance task? Look at this. I've already completed the task. Come and catch me. The parrot said and rushed to the 50th war zone. There were many experts in the 50th war zone. They were about to divide into two teams and were about to fight. The parrot suddenly roared, come and see, the Chilean tiger crossed over with the human emperor's inheritance task. Come and get it. He still has 60 or 70,000 life tokens. Dozens of experts heard it and immediately looked at the war zone's stone tablet. The barrier shone brightly. There were indeed experts crossing over. He has the human emperor's inheritance task, the heaven-flipping palm, a secret technique created by human emperor Xianyuan when he was young. It's the most precious treasure of the human race. Brothers of the human race, don't let him go. The most precious treasure of the human race must not be taken away by the other races. The parrot roared and used all its true essence to spread its voice far and wide. It could be heard clearly thousands of miles away. The heroes of the human race were excited. The secret technique created by human Emperor Xianyuan when he was young was the most precious treasure of the human race. They must not let the other races get it. Boom! Dozens of figures rushed to the stone tablet. They were all experts of the quasi-emperor level. There were also 3 imperial princes, all young imperial princes of the Holy Land. Brothers of the other races, the Chilean tiger has the 8th grade mid-tier Azure Dragon blood essence passed down by the 9 Dragons Emperor. It's the best time to build your bloodline and evolve your physical body. Don't miss it. He has just crossed over and his combat power will drop a lot. It's up to you whether he can prove his Tao or not. The parrot flew and roared. It wanted to summon all the experts of the 50th war zone. The Chilean tiger had just crossed over when the gravity chains locked his ankles and dragged him back to the ground. His cultivation realm was instantly suppressed to the 8th level of the immortal gate. In addition, he was not used to it and could at most unleash the power of the 6th level of the immortal gate. However, before he could recover, his position was blasted into pieces by an overwhelming attack. There were a total of 50 to 60 experts. There were humans and the other races. Each attack had the power of the 5th level of the immortal gate. In addition, there were a few imperial princes and quasi-emperors. That attack was absolutely sharp and directly stunned the Chilean tiger. You're courting death. The Chilean tiger roared angrily. He wanted to counterattack, but the overwhelming attack collapsed the space. He couldn't even mobilize his spiritual chi and was instantly seriously injured. Cough, cough, cough. The Chilean tiger coughed out blood. His soul was severely injured and his face was pale. He appeared in his original form and struggled crazily. The chains were flung away and smashed to death several experts. All of you die. The Chilean tiger's cultivation realm was at the 9th level of the immortal gate. Even if it was suppressed, it was not something these experts could compare to. The huge Chilean figure appeared. Its huge palm smashed the void and defeated more than 10 experts. It opened its bloody mouth and directly swallowed a top expert of the myriad races. Everyone attacked together. We humans don't want the Azure Dragon's blood essence. We only want the heaven-overturning palm. Our bloodline level is not high. As long as we obtain the Azure Dragon's blood essence, we will be qualified to prove our Tao. The experts of the human race and the myriad races rarely worked together and fought back with all their might. There were also 5 imperial princes at the front fighting head-on. The battle caused the sky to collapse and the earth to split open. Blood stained the ground. The Qilin tiger immediately understood that he had been tricked by the parrot. However, there was no time to explain. The group of people seemed to have gone crazy. They wanted nothing more than to devour his flesh and soul. Sabers flashed and swords flashed as they desperately attacked him. He didn't even have the chance to speak. Everyone, work harder. Kill for me. Kill him and you will be invincible among your peers. You will be imperial princes. The parrot said righteously. It raised its head and roared. After saying this, it desperately fled into the distance. Boom boom boom. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The void continued to shatter and the earth trembled. The barrier of the battle zone shone with divine light. The Qilin tiger was blasted into the barrier and directly bounced back. His soul was shaken and his divine sense was scattered. His eyes were full of murderous intent. The quasi-emperor of the Qilin tiger clan in the outside world suddenly stood up and clenched his iron fists. He wanted nothing more than to charge into the space and tear those besiegers to pieces. Why are the myriad races and the human race so united this time? The Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor and the experts of the Tao realm of the human race's sacred land were very surprised. They could only see the video but didn't know what was said. They didn't know that the parrot was behind it. If the Qilin tiger doesn't retreat, it is very likely that he will be killed by these experts. Xia Chintian grinned coldly and said indifferently. After saying this, the Qilin tiger's physical body collapsed and his skin wrinkled. He could die at any time. The Qilin tiger quasi-emperor was unwilling to accept this. He was the only expert in his clan. If he was inexplicably eliminated, he would obviously be unwilling. However, with so many quasi-emperors, kings, and emperors joining forces to attack, and the moment they crossed over, they launched an attack. The top 20 experts couldn't withstand it. Damn it, retreat! The Qilin tiger quasi-emperor roared. Unfortunately, he couldn't inform the Qilin tiger. The Qilin tiger's divine sense scattered. The last bit of his will to live supported him. He directly spat out his life card and his soul dissipated. However, the experts of the human race were still unwilling to give up and launched one last attack, completely injuring him. Outside the space, the Qilin tiger's body crashed to the ground and coughed up blood. His physical body was lifeless and he almost died on the spot. The Qilin tiger quasi-emperor's face was ashen. He directly used the best life-saving divine pill in his clan and injected it into the Qilin tiger's body, hanging on to his last thread of life. The emperor bloodline was eliminated for the first time. However, the elimination was too tragic and too sullen. He didn't even have much chance to fight back before he was beaten out of the endless space. This made the quasi-emperors outside the space look at each other. The experts in the space were ashen. No matter how suppressed the Qilin tiger was, he resisted a few times and killed almost half of the experts. More than 10 were eliminated, leaving less than 20 experts. They stood there in a daze, looking at the large number of scattered life cards. Where was the human emperor's reward? Was I cheated? The human race's emperor's body was bathed in a river of blood. His soul-evolved Taoist body was cracking. He thought that he would be able to obtain the heaven upheaval palm, but he didn't expect to get anything. Damn it, who just said that the Qilin tiger has the human emperor's reward? The emperors of the 10,000 races raised their heads and roared. Their eyes were cold and sharp as they scanned the void. However, the parrot was nowhere to be seen. Thousands of miles away, the parrot twisted its butt and hummed. I'm smiling proudly, I'm smiling proudly. Those who go against me never have a good ending. Oh, oh, oh. Chapter 276. In the 50th battle zone, more than 10 quasi-thearch princes and 5 the archprinces roared angrily. I've never been defeated in my entire life. Today I was fooled by a bird. I'm going to skin it alive. The archprinces of some unknown race clenched their fists and roared angrily. It seems to be the bitch bird on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. Yes, now that you mention it, I immediately remember. It's that bitch bird. It was the one who tricked us into attacking. Let's split the life tokens equally. Let's go find that bitch bird. I've offended the Qilin clan. I'm going to vent my anger. Let's go. The elites of the 10,000 races and the human race did not argue this time. They split the life tokens and rushed into the depths of the 50th battle zone. In the 49th battle zone, Yi Qinghan and Shun Ke walked on one side and pushed forward. There were not many people in the battle zone, and the remaining were all experts. However, they encountered a tough nut to crack. The two of them crushed the opponents as they passed by. They were unable to resist at all. There were only 40,000 life tokens left in this battle zone, so they could only fight for them with all their might. They attacked crazily, and all laws submitted. They were incomparably powerful. Shin Ke looked at Yi Qinghan from afar. A glint flashed in the corner of his eyes as he stepped forward. A quasi-thearch prince was right in front of him. He was a human. When he saw Shin Ke, he did not know how powerful he was and charged forward. Azure Dragon subduing sun and moon. The palm shadow seemed slow, but it was actually as fast as lightning. The palm shadow did not dissipate. It was like a long dragon that rose and fell, rolling up the azure sea and attacking the sun and moon. Boom! Before the quasi-thearch prince could make a move, his chest was pierced through, and his soul was destroyed on the spot. He had no chance at all. Azure sea change. Sun and moon merge. Don't break. Whoosh. Shin Ke's momentum did not change. He snatched the life tokens and his figure streaked through the clouds. His aura swept through space and time, as if the world had changed and the sun and moon had merged into one. He broke through the sky, and the smoke and dust on the ground were swept up. It was incomparably terrifying as he charged into the distance. Wherever it passed, all laws ceased to exist, and even space became illusory. The speed at which Shin Ke's techniques changed was simply too fast. It was as smooth as flowing water, as if a heavenly dragon had returned to the water. Yi Qinghan's ankles were more than 20 meters long. They were enough to crush a war king, but they couldn't stop Yi Qinghan's footsteps. Zhong Kuang emitted a cold glint as he trampled over 1,000 li, creating a river of blood. Even without using the 9 Heavens Tyrant Dragon art, he was still able to sweep through all of them. His soul was getting stronger and stronger, approaching the peak of the Great Circle of Grandmaster. He was just a little bit away from entering the Celestial Gate and he would have nothing to worry about. The endless space trembled. He became more and more proficient in the space laws. Wherever his divine sense passed by, it slashed out violently from another space. The aura of the great path of destruction directly wiped out the enemy's vitality. Even cultivators who were strong enough to be crowned as kings had no power to resist. He was extremely powerful. The quasi-emperors outside the space looked at each other in dismay. Quasi-emperor Qilin, who was so angry that his face was contorted, killing intent rising all around. His eyes swept across the 50 battle zones, staring at the backs of those people. Cough, cough. The Qilin tiger coughed out a few mouthfuls of blood that had been stuck in his throat. His face was deathly pale as he opened his eyes. There was a flash of astonishment in his eyes and his face was ferocious. Crazy sect. I'm going to make you my enemy. The Qilin tiger clenched his iron fists. He had lost 90% of his vitality. If not for the divine elixir, he would have died long ago. This time, he was screwed over by the parrot. Little tiger, why did those people join forces to beat you up when you just arrived at the 50 battle zones? They didn't even give you a chance to explain? Quasi-Emperor Qilin Tiger asked coldly. It would have been better if this was not mentioned. When this was mentioned, the Qilin Tiger was almost angered to death. He was robbed of his opportunity and was framed. He was almost beaten to death by dozens of people. Now that he thought about it, he felt aggrieved. The Qilin tiger spat out another mouthful of blood essence. His eyes were glowing red as he roared hoarsely, "It's the bird on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. Cough, cough, cough. That bastard bird. I triggered the human emperor's mission in the 49th battle zone and was kidnapped by it in advance. It lured me to the 50th battle zone, but it told everyone that I was the one who received the human emperor's reward. It said that I received the 8th grade Azure Dragon's blood essence and the human emperor Xuanyuan's great sky-turning palm print. That was why the human race and the 10,000 races joined forces. I'm going to kill those bastards from the Kuang sect. The Qilin tiger was so aggrieved that he burst into tears. His 10 fingers stabbed into the ground and his blood and bones broke. His hatred was monstrous. Only then did everyone understand why the Qilin tiger was eliminated. It turned out that the people in the 50th battle zone were also used as tools. The most unlucky one was the Qilin tiger. He didn't even get to say a word and was beaten up by 70 to 80 people. He was lucky that he didn't die. In the 49th battle zone, Yi Qinghan suddenly realized that the Qilin tiger had been eliminated. He couldn't help but frown. Who in this battle zone could eliminate him so quickly? He looked at the real experts in front of him, including a few people from the Kuang sect. Their life cards didn't increase by tens of thousands in an instant. He couldn't help but be surprised. He thought to himself, could it be that there are still people in the endless space who are holding back? Xia Ziluo, who had run from the 6th battle zone to the 30th battle zone, also realized that the Qilin tiger had been eliminated. She frowned and thought to herself, could it be that the little girl Emperor Yi suppressed the Qilin tiger? I won't lose to that little girl. Jian Chenxue and Emperor Yi were also shocked. After all, the Qilin tiger was their bet. No one wanted to lose. However, they didn't know that the Qilin tiger had almost been killed by the parrot. There were no more experts in the 49th battle zone. Shen Ke and Yi Qinghan were invincible. However, in the end, there weren't enough people to cross the battle zones. The two of them looked at each other and clenched their fists. Their eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Out of the two, only one could cross the battle zone. However, Yi Qinghan and Shen Ke were definitely masters who couldn't be provoked. Shen Ke was unpredictable and mysterious. Yi Qinghan had noticed that from the moment he attacked until now, he didn't repeat any of his secret techniques. Every move was extremely powerful. The lowest level of his secret technique was at the peak of the 7th level. Was the Divine Ghost sect really like what Shen Ke said? Was it an inheritance from the mythological era? Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and stared at Shen Quebec. He said in a low voice, only one of us can cross the battle zone. Make your move. Shen Ke said arrogantly and coldly, you cross 2 battle zones, and I cross 1. You are a peak Grand Marshal revered, while I am a level 8 immortal. It's too unfair to deal with you. Our Divine Ghost sect disdains to do such a thing. What? Shen Ke's cultivation dropped to the peak Grand Marshal revered as divine light filled his body. He said indifferently, Yi Qinghan, you are a good opponent. It's a pity that we are not fighting in the boundless universe. Otherwise, it would be interesting to see my full strength. There will be a chance. Yi Qinghan crossed his legs and crushed the ground. Their auras soared into the clouds. The fighting spirit of the two experts was rising. Yi Qinghan's blood was boiling. This was the first time he had fought with an existence of this level. Winning or losing wasn't important. What was important was the experience. I will use my 3 strongest moves. If you can withstand them, you win. If I lose, I will wait for you outside the boundless universe and have a fair fight with you. This time, I will take advantage of you. Shen Ke was indifferent. His eyes were like the scorching sun. His aura rose to the peak. His body was faintly discernible, as if he could break through the void and return to the boundless universe at any time. No one could stop him. These 3 moves are my master's special skills. The Emperor's return to origin, the Emperor's descent, and the primal chaos rebirth. If you can withstand them, the other moves will be useless against you. If you can't, your training will end here. Shen Ke's divinity radiated. He had decided to use a secret technique of the Divine Spirit technique, the Genesis art. Almost no one in the younger generation knew the name of the 6 calamities Azure Dragon. It was a strange name. Just from the surname, one would know that it was very ancient. However, if one asked about the Boundary Emperor, everyone knew that he was the strongest Boundary Emperor in the world. He was even stronger than the peak Boundary Emperor of the Eternal Era. He was only half a step away from proving his Tao. He had not appeared for 2,000 years. Even if the human race was crippled, he was not interested in helping. He was one of the experts who did not distinguish between good and evil. Yi Qinghan did not know about the 6 Calamity Azure Dragon, but he could tell that Shen Ke was already very terrifying. His master must be an unparalleled expert who was superior to many quasi-emperors. No wonder Shen Ke said that even if his main body was outside, the quasi-emperors would not dare to hurt him. Boom! Yi Qinghan stabbed his saber into the ground. His dragon blood boiled. He decided to use his strongest battle power, the 9 Heavens Tyrant Dragon Art. I will use 3 moves to resist. If I can defeat these 3 moves, I will automatically withdraw from the boundless space. These 3 moves are from the ancient godly killing stone steel. 9 Heavens Tyrant Dragon Art, Dragon Tail destroying mountains and rivers, Tyrant Dragon Sky shattering roar, and 9 Revolution Heavenly Dragon Style. Both sides gave their opponents the highest respect. Life and death were ruled by fate. Riches and honor were ruled by the heavens. These two were going all out. If they were not careful, their souls would die miserably in the boundless space. Their physical bodies outside would also fall. 9 Heavens Tyrant Dragon Art, Golden Body Transforming Dragon. It can break all techniques. Yi Qinghan formed seals with his palms. His powerful soul transformed into a 10,000 zhang long golden dragon. Golden light filled the sky. The huge dragon broke through the void and arrived. The terrifying dragon tail contained the will of a great emperor. It could crush the Tao hearts of heroes. It was as if it was going to slap on everyone's heart. Dong dong dong. The Boundary Emperor's hearts were beating rapidly. Their pupils shrank as they looked at the 50th battle zone. Who is Yi Qinghan going to fight with? Xia Chintian was shocked. Up until now, only the Blue Flood Dragon Prince could force Yi Qinghan to use his full strength. He did not expect that there would be someone in the 49th battle zone who could force him to use his full strength. Ultimate Emperor returning to origin. 10,000 techniques in one kill. Shen Ke put his palms together, and the momentum of the world was forcefully drawn over. He gathered the majestic and vast aura of an emperor, and his soul seemed to be majestic and unshakable. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a divine sword, and his divinity shot out in all directions. He actually wanted to fight against Yi Qinghan's dragon tail. Ultimate Emperor returning to origin. This is the special ability of the 6 Calamities Azure Dragon. The disciple of the Divine Ghost sect has appeared. Zhang Yunshao suddenly stood up. His eyes swept across the countless corpses outside the Emperor Abyss City. His eyes flashed, hoping to find Shen Ke's corpses. Hua hua hua. The dragon tail contained the will of a great emperor. It shattered the void. However, the divine sword transformed from Shen Ke was even more tyrannical. It could break through any shackles. It wanted to break through the dragon tail and rush into the clouds. Boom. 2 terrifying figures collided in the void. Blood splattered across the sky. Even though the dragon tail contained the will of a great emperor, it was still pushed back by the shockwave. A mournful dragon roar shook the mountains and rivers. Even the giant dragon was sent flying. Wah wah wah. The giant sword transformed from Shen Ke smashed into the ground. It dragged out a torrential flame that burned for 10,000 li. It smashed into the distance. The ground was undulating. Smoke and dust filled the sky. The experts' expressions changed greatly. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.